We are back with a team report, and I have none other than Mr. Top Cut Toronto himself, Noah Carney, here talking about what we have as a awesome rain team with Urshifu, Pelipper, Porygon. You guys know I love my Archaludon, but before we get into that, I just want to say, Noah, how are you doing, man? It's been a week now since you top cut the Toronto Regional Championships, a magical place for me where I made my breakthrough performance. And now, dude, this is yours. So how are you doing, man?
I'm feeling great. I mean, it was a magical run. I felt like I played really well. And it was something that I always felt was possible and that I felt I could play up to that standard. So to finally do it at a huge event, especially with so many European players also coming over for Toronto, it was a surreal feeling knowing that I was not only playing with those players, but also beating them as well in the process. It was just a surreal feeling. It still feels good. I'm still like kind of coming down off the high. But yeah, it was a magical run for sure.
Dude, the tournament was stacked. We saw everyone from North America who did not get ruined by flight plans made it. We saw the best players in Europe, from Michael Kelsch to Eric Rios, Alex Gomez, Marcos. Everyone came out to Toronto. And again, like you stood there and made the top. I think you finished 11th place, which is amazing. So for one, congratulations. And before we get into the video, like I really just want to like ask you, like, you know, that run, this performance, this team, you know, this is your first breakout tour. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone before we dive into the video?
I think the biggest piece of advice I would give is don't be afraid to run what you would consider standard stuff. I think this is the biggest thing that I've struggled with, especially like early on in my Pokemon playing career, is standard stuff is standard for a reason, right? It's really strong. And I think that's something that I've struggled to grasp, and kind of, I've struggled to play standard stuff as well, but realizing that strong stuff is strong for a reason, and figuring out how to use it correctly is a skill in itself. So I think that's something that I kind of took into the weekend, and I think I kind of honed the skill throughout the weekend as well.
Absolutely. And again, like, hey, let's look at the team right now. I see Incineroar, I see Amoonguss.
Hey everyone, I know we're only a minute or so into the video, but I want to say thank you guys for watching from the bottom of my heart. These last couple of weeks I haven't been posting as many videos because I did get a new job, which has been a real struggle of mine in this current job market, especially after hearing about how my last job went. So I do appreciate it so much, and I'm really here to help you guys as much as I can. I have this team report coming, another team report coming, and if you want my guide on how I made worlds, that can maybe, it's like a free PDF for you guys. Just like comment the word worlds and I'll send it to you too. But I'm here to help you guys so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of this team report. I'll see you guys in another team report I'll post probably tomorrow. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Thanks again. Peace.
I don't know if it gets more standard than that. Again, thank God there's no Raging Bolt. There's no Rillaboom. So I'm glad you're not a Raging Bolt balance player. That's the one thing I will have grace for. And there's no Dozo either. So we're making progress here. But I'm looking at this team, and I love what I see personally. Let me actually move to the side because I don't want to hide Porygon's EVs. Let's do that. Okay, perfect. So I'm looking at this team right now. I love Pelipper. As everyone knows, Pelipper is my Toronto breakthrough run also was with Pelipper. And I've been using it for a long time as well, to day 2 LAIC, Las Vegas, and you're over here using it to dominate in Regulation F. So this is the team. I would love just for you to give me the story. Like, where did this begin? How did we start? Because this is a really cool team. Life Orb, Pelipper, this is cool, man.
So the concept of the team started, I think I played a Regulation F, like a Limitless tournament the first time Regulation F was around. And I brought these 5, the Porygon 2 wasn't on the team, but I brought these 5 plus Chen Pao, I think.
Okay.
And I think the Pelipper had the Focus Sash at that time, and the Chen Pao had either Clear Amulet or Life Orb. It was one of the two. And I did pretty well. I think I finished second in that Limitless tournament. There was like 50 plus people. So it was a pretty big, it was this semi decent sized tournament. And I was like, okay, the core feels strong. So when Regulation F came back and I knew that I was coming to Toronto, I was like, all right, I'm going to start with this. This is something that I'm comfortable with. I think it's okay, if not good, into the current metagame, and we'll go from there. So like I said, I had Focus Sash Pelipper, I had Life Orb Chen Pao. The Chen Pao felt good into the Raging Bolt balance stuff, but outside of that, I felt like I wasn't really bringing it that much, except against Raging Bolt. Especially because those booster flutters with Icy Wind started picking up, right? And so that kind of ruins the Chen Pao Life Orb.
Yeah, T-Wave, all that game, Sucker Punch, T-Wave.
Exactly. It's not fun, right? Unless you're running like Terra Grass, you just drop to like Thunderwave plus Surging Strikes from like Mystic Water Urshifu, right? Unless your Chen Pao's bulky, and I didn't really want to do that. So
yeah.
So yeah, so that was the starting point of the team, and I was like, all right, Chen Pao doesn't feel good. Let's drop it. I tried Landorus. So I tried the version of the team that I think his name was Alberto Caniello Gomez brought to EUIC.
Okay. Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah. But basically, it was the same 6 Mons that I have here. Like I said, no Porygon 2 yet, but it had Landorus in that last slot with Life Orb.
Okay, yeah.
So pretty much as standard as you can get for Rain.
Yeah. So that's where you started. And again, like what I'm looking at, this is you shifted a pretty big way. So while Alberto's team loads, I mean, you had Pelipper, you had Chen Pao, you had Lando. So how did you kind of start shifting towards this group right here?
So the biggest issue for me with the Chen Pao mode and with the Landorus mode, or those versions of the team, I should say, was speed control. I felt like even with Sash, like Pelipper having Tailwind and that being the only form of speed control was like really bad for the team, because there were a lot of times where Pelipper would just die before it could get a Tailwind off.
Yeah.
And it felt really bad. So I was like, okay, the team needs some other form of speed control. So I tried Tornadus. I tried Thunderwave Thunderous as well with Eerie Impulse. But those felt kind of okay. And I realized that the team would actually be really good with the Trick Room mode, because Archaludon's kind of fast. It's not that fast. And I could also make the Pelipper slower.
Was it Alberto Lara or someone else?
No, I think it was...
Alberto Canrello, this guy right
yeah, Canrello. Yep, that team, exactly.
Because this had the Landorus over the
Chen Pao.
Chen Pao, and for your case, the Porygon 2 spot. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yep.
You guys notice this. There's a little bit of a difference here, but again, very similar idea. But continue, bro.
Yeah, so this was the team I started with, and I realized the Landorus felt okay, but I didn't have enough speed control, so I switched out Landorus for Porygon 2. And the reason for that, again, is because the opposing Tailwind teams and those Flutter Mane teams felt really, really bad to go up against, because they would just outpace my Urshifu, which was the fastest thing on the team at the time. Well, it still is the fastest thing on the team. They would just outpace the Urshifu with either Tailwind or Icy Wind Flutter.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And so I decided I needed more speed control. So I went with Porygon 2. And pretty early on, I realized I wanted Terra Poison, Terra Blast with this quiet nature with some attack investment, so that I could hit Flutter Mane, Terra Fairy Flutter Mane.
This EV is cool. Break it down. I'm
yeah. So the 28 EVs in attack is there for if you get the attack boost from download, you actually hit physical damage, right? So with the +1 boost, you actually outpace your own special attack. The special attack is just to get the nature bump for special attack, and then the rest is just kind of dumped into bulk. And like I said, because I was using attack, I wanted to go with quiet nature, so it's a little bit slower than I think maybe most Porygon 2 would run. And I think that the cool thing about this Porygon 2 is the Terra Poison, Terra Blast. I don't think most people are using Terra Poison right now. I think a lot of them are Terra Flying, and if they're not Terra Flying, they're like Terra Fairy, I think, maybe.
Yeah, so a lot of them are flying because they're always next to Ursaluna, so they always feel like they have to Terra Flying around it. I do remember last format go around, I would play against, in my local area, this one player, Trista Medine. She's a pretty good player, and she would always be running the Terra Poison Porygon 2. So I've seen it before, but it's not very common.
Right, exactly. And so I knew that would catch some people off guard, and also just how much damage it does with Terra Poison, Terra Blast, especially into, like I said, the Terra Fairy Flutter Mane. Getting physical damage into Terra Fairy Flutter Mane was really big, and also getting physical damage into Ogerpon Wellspring was another big one.
Raging Bolt too, right? Like if you get the attack boost, those Terra Fairy, like you pressure Raging Bolt now down pre and post Terra with the Ice Beam and Poison as well.
100%. It was a really strong pin. Especially the AV bolts. That was the really big pin, exactly. So I knew I wanted Poison pretty early on. That I don't even know if I tested really any other Terras. I just kind of realized that it would fit in concept, and it did. It worked in practice.
So I have a question for you, Noah. So when you're building this team, did you already decide that you had the other 5, like those other 5 you were going to use, and then you added Porygon 2, or was it more like, okay, I had this general idea that I like the Pokemon, I like the items and the sets, but I maybe want to try where the process does Porygon 2 come with like the final piece of the puzzle? Because I'm as players are watching, I want them to think like, okay, how can I look at something that I like and make it better? And I'm curious to see where you made your changes and push that team forward.
So I really liked the core of Pelipper, Urshifu, Archaludon, and Amoonguss. I thought those top 4 were really strong. I didn't feel like there were many matchups where I couldn't bring all of those 4. There were a couple, right? Raging Bolt balance in particular is kind of tough for Urshifu and Pelipper, right? Yeah. So I knew I wanted those last 2 to help against Assault Vest and in a pinch, the setup Raging Bolts.
Yeah.
But I knew those top 4 were strong, and I was bringing them to most of the matchups, especially into other balance variants. So I was like, okay, those are the first 4. And then I added Incineroar because it's just really, really good, right? Like Incineroar is just the best supporting Pokemon in the game.
Of course.
And Incineroar and Amoonguss, the combination of those two are just really, really tough for a lot of teams to break, just naturally, just because of their synergy with switching. Regenerator and Intimidate is really strong. So I realized Incineroar would probably be the 5th pretty early on, and then, like I said, I needed that speed control. So Porygon became that speed control option.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I built the core of the team. The sets on the Archaludon set is actually, I think, the least standard thing, and I think the least intuitive thing on the team. The calm nature is the biggest thing here.
Yeah, I love it. Where's my Pokemon Showdown? When I made day 2 at Vegas and LAIC, my Archaludon is also like very similar spread. Like I'm looking at this right now. What max HP, calm, 4 special attack, a low speed, and very calm special defensive nature. So yeah, I love the vision there.
Yeah, 100%. I actually was working on a similar Archaludon team in Reg H. I was also using Comfey.
Oh, there you go. Comfey's a goat. Comfey is a goat.
It really is. And so I've been using Arch for a while, and I realized, especially in this format with Landorus Earth Power just OHKOing you unless you're running Calm, I realized that I kind of needed to run Calm. And I also wasn't picking up like any one-hit knockouts with Electroshot with Modest versus, I wasn't missing out on anything by running Calm over Modest. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna run Calm, and that helped a lot in the balanced Landorus matchups. And it also just helped against like Booster Fluttermane, right? You take way less when you're Calm from like Moonblast. So those kinds of things. So I realized that the Arch wanted to be Calm. Like I said, I was running Sash Pelipper for a while, but once I added Porygon 2 to the team, I realized that Pelipper doesn't actually need the Sash because the team can be a little bit slower. And so I added Life Orb to Pelipper because I realized it can be a really powerful Trick Room sweeper if you get it under Trick Room against Pokemon.
Bro's cooking. I like that.
So like I said, I added Life Orb, and it just does so much damage. I think it OHKOs, like even at -1, it OHKOs Ursaluna with Weather Ball. It OHKOs Ursaluna Blood Moon max HP with Weather Ball. The big difference between Sash and Life Orb Pelipper 2 is it OHKOs Amoonguss with Hurricane from full.
Okay.
Whereas Sash does not. So that's another reason I really like Life Orb on Pelipper.
Yeah. So that is cool because I've been seeing a lot of Pelippers even in where's the tournament? Let me show you here. Let me make another link. When I was looking at the teams from Birmingham, I saw a couple of rain teams as well. And I wanted to pick your brain on this topic because we go to, let's see, tournaments completed. It was official Masters Birmingham. I believe there was a couple of rain teams here as well. One right here. And he had Life Orb just like you, which I thought was really cool. But then also I saw this one player, Flavio, another player who used Rain, had Rocky Helmet. So for you, the way you looked at it, your team was that I'm going to use Life Orb to activate Pelipper more under Trick Room is what it sounds like, compared to like just being a support that can do some chip. You look at it as like, I can kill shit with this thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially with the Incin. I could bring Incin and Amoonguss P2 Pelipper and a lot of time win the game in one Trick Room. And I don't think people were expecting the amount of damage that Pelipper would do.
Wow.
When paired with Porygon 2. It was really strong, especially into some of the Bolt variants, because the Assault Vest Bolt variants, because another thing, the Incineroar is sassy nature. So it's actually got a minus speed nature and 29 speed IVs.
Okay. That underspeeds what?
So it underspeeds your own Porygon 2 is the thought process behind that. So you can knock off Assault Vest and Citrus Berries and then go for Ice Beams and Terra Blasts after that.
Bro is cooking, bro. The whole, like, when you look at this team too, it doesn't look like a Trick Room team. But that's where like a huge hidden advantage comes, because when you play against it, you're like, okay, Incineroar might be fast, Pelipper might be fast. No. Like, and then even in under tricking, you would never expect Incineroar to go slower than your P2. That's pretty badass, dude. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. I really liked it. And also, I wasn't really bringing Incineroar to matchups where my opponent was bringing Incineroar either. For example, the Bolt Balance matchup, I would almost always bring just the top 4, like the setup Bolt with the leftovers Calm Mind.
Yeah.
I would always bring the top 4, Archaludon, Pelipper, Urshifu, and Amoonguss. And so I didn't really feel like I was needing my Incineroar to outspeed other fake out users. And I was really using it as a support Pokemon under Trick Room. And so, yeah, making it that slow was definitely the right call for this team.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Really cool. Okay, cool. So now, so you have the Pelipper, you have the Incin, the Arch set. Is there any other notes specifically about the journey, or like you kind of just like, oh, this is it, this is the 6 right now?
I think that was pretty much it. The arch was Flash Cannon over Snarl for a long time, but my friend Austin, shout out Austin if you're watching, he recommended we go Snarl over Flash Cannon because when we were clicking Flash Cannon, we realized we really should be just clicking Electroshot anyway just to get the boost because we weren't picking up KOs. Into stuff like Fluttermane, you really just would rather have the boost and 48% than no boost and 70% on the Fluttermane.
I think the advantage that because if you're not going to OHKO it, then like because typically 2 E-shots will kill anyway over E-shot Flash Cannon, and Flash Cannon will never KO. So
exactly. So we realized that we really should be clicking E-shot anyway, and so yeah, there were just very, very few situations, mainly against like the Terra Fairy, Calm Mind, Raging Bolts that Flash Cannon was coming up. But we also realized that Snarl helped in that matchup a lot more anyway, because you can snarl them down while they Calm Mind.
It's true.
So Snarl was the last kind of piece of the puzzle. I think everything else was pretty locked in. The 4-attack Amoonguss, I think, is more common on rain teams than anywhere else. I haven't really seen any 4-attack Amoonguss on rain teams.
Yeah, even Flavio and Oliver both also have the 4-attack. So is there a reason why you don't have Protect on it? Like for you, what was the value in having all 4 of these moves and not having Protect? Because I'm looking at your team right now. There are 0 Protects.
Yeah, I got a lot of flack before the tournament in a Discord that I'm in. They were like, you need Protect on something. And I was like, I don't know. Like the team, I feel like there's no move on this team where I would drop a move for Protect, if that makes sense. Like Arch can't have Protect, it's got the Assault Vest. You're not going to run Protect on Scarf Ursh. P2 doesn't really run Protect. Incin doesn't really run Protect. The 2 that could are Peli and Amoonguss, and I feel like I need all those moves. So Sludge Bomb is just, in an Ogerpon centric meta, Sludge Bomb is just, it's necessary. I think if you look at all the other Amoonguss in the format, they're also running Sludge Bomb for the same reason. You just have to be able to hit them. Spore and Rage Powder are similarly just super important, right? Spore's the best move in the game, I think, and then Rage Powder is just maybe the second best move in the game, maybe behind Follow Me, right? So those 3 moves I was pretty locked on, and then it was between Protect and Pollen Puff, but because my arch is so bulky, there were games where just getting a single Pollen Puff onto Archaludon just basically instantly won me the game. I'll get into it later in the run. There's at least one set where having Pollen Puff on Amoonguss just straight up won me the game. And so yeah, the 4 attacks I felt like were necessary, and because I actually had Rocky Helmet on Amoonguss for a while, so I saw.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Citrus Berry versus Rocky as well, because again, like into other Urshifu and stuff, like Amoonguss redirecting. So tell me more about the item switch there.
Yeah, so Rocky Helmet was really good into Urshifu Water, and actually it was really good into Urshifu Dark, which is kind of an issue for this team. If you don't have Terra Fairy Amoonguss, it's definitely an issue for this team. Even after Terra Fairy, if you don't have the Rocky Helmet, it's still kind of tricky. But the Citrus Berry is just so valuable across the board that sacrificing maybe like a couple of matchups to have better matchups into everything else, like more consistency, I guess, across the board is the reason I went with Citrus Berry over Helmet. Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, no matter what, Citrus Berry should on Amoonguss proc almost every single game. Whereas, yes, you'll miss a Rocky Helmet at times, but again, like you have an Arch, you have like 3 other Urshifu resists. I guess, and again, as long as you can redirect the Wicked Blows into the Fairy and you can hit it back with maybe like a Hurricane or a CC, you have a lot of tools. So I mean, it makes sense to me in theory. I think for me, looking at this, it's really cool that one advice I give to viewers watching this is one way to find an advantage in your games, in your tournaments, is you'll never really have an advantage on surface level viewing when you look at their pace, right? Because you can see their moves and their EV, their moves and their items. But when you EV Pokemon in unique ways and you have these hidden advantages that no one can see, like Noah did, having this Pelipper and Incineroar extremely slow to play their own like Trick Room mode, Incineroar being slower than Porygon, so that's where a lot of the value can come in. So I think that's something you did that I'm a fan of as an observer of the team. I'm a fan of that myself, man. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think the team in a lot of matchups it played itself, and I really liked it. So
yeah, and then I guess last thing before we go on to your run, bro, is are the spreads made? I want to go one by one really quickly to see if they solve anything super particularly. So like, if we start at Pelipper, like this HP, this attack, like, is there any reason for some of these calcs here?
Yeah, so actually most of them have some relevance. So the Pelipper spread, it's just enough HP so that you hit like the rounding mark, right? So it hits 159 HP, so you don't take an extra couple chips, or an extra damage from Life Orb each turn, right? And then it was just 4 defense, 4 special defense, modest special attack, and then the rest in speed.
Yeah.
But as you can see, there's a little bit of special defense now. The reason for that is because against some hard Trick Room matchups where they have minimum speed Urshifu Dark, like I said, Urshifu Dark can be a really big problem for this team, especially in those matchups where you don't really want to bring Amoonguss into Psy Spam plus Torkoal, right? That doesn't... Amoonguss is kind of a liability in those matchups, even if it's terrestrializing to Fairy. So, but Pelipper you want to bring, so you can turn off Torkoal's Sun. But then if you're outspeeding their Urshifu under Trick Room, they can just OHKO you with Wicked Blow. So I lowered the speed down so that it hits 90 speed stat, which is really nice because you both underspeed Urshifu Dark under Trick Room, and under your own Tailwind, you also outspeed opposing Ogerpon and Tornadus, which was kind of the nice sweet spot.
90 because you had 90.
Yes, exactly. So the 36 speed lets you hit 90 speed stat because minimum speed Urshifu Dark is 91.
Yep. That's really cool. I actually like that a lot. I like that a lot. What about this Urshifu here? I see you're a little bit less offensive. You have Terra Grass. Tell me more about this Urshifu.
Yeah, so Terra Grass is like super necessary for a couple reasons. First, when you're Terra Grass, opponents really don't like clicking Spore into you because they can get nothing out of the turn. So a lot of the times I would get away with just clicking Surging Strikes into the partner because they'd be so scared of Terra Grass to avoid Rage Powder and Spore, and they would just click Sludge Bomb into my Urshifu and do like 25% while I Surging Strikes the partner.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing, is just to kind of scare them off of sporing and rage powdering in front of your Urshifu. The second reason is in endgames, it's also really helpful, right? So if you get to a position where you've got Rain Up and you've got Urshifu and like Archaludon against opposing Amoonguss and Landorus, you would lose that endgame unless you had Terra Grass on Urshifu to just avoid the rage powder and KO the Landorus, right? Because otherwise they could just rage powder away and earth power both guys until they're dead, right? So Terra Grass is really important in that way. And then the bulk comes in because there are matchups where you don't really want to Terra Grass. So against Raging Bolt, there's a lot of times you really don't want to, especially the setup Raging Bolt, you really don't want to terrestrialize to Grass. You want to terrestrialize the Amoonguss to Fairy so you can Rage Powder away the Thunderclaps and Dragon Pulses, right? It kind of completely walls out the Raging Bolts. And so the HP and SpedF investment allow you to live a neutral Thunderclap from the setup and
nice.
AV Raging Bolts. I think this Urshifu spread is like fairly standard. I'm not exactly sure what people are running, but maybe on Rain they're running a little bit more offense. But I still wanted to live the Thunderclap from Raging Bolt, unless they're running like a Booster Energy or like a Life Orb or something, which is a little bit more common now. But
yeah, with AV or with the leftovers, you're eating that. Yeah, is it 100%?
Not if they're like max modest, but it's 100% if they're like 188 or something like that.
Great. Okay, that's great.
So you're even if they're max modest, the roll is
it's in your favor. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Safe.
Yep. So and I think there was a couple times in the tournament where they did Thunderclap me and I lived with like 15%. So I think most of the bolts, especially the Calm-Minded AV ones, are sitting around that range, that middling range.
Yeah.
So that spread is what it is. And then the 28 HP and 4 defense, it didn't really come up in the tournament. It only came up a couple times in practice, but it does let you live Terra Normal Extreme Speed Dragonite with the Sword of Ruin help.
Oh, that's a calc. I feel like everyone always, you got to have that calc in there somewhere, right?
Exactly. Arch does really well into those teams too, just because it has a ton of defense. And with Terra Grass, you become neutral to Sacred Sword, and you've got Incineroar as well. But yeah, being able to live the extreme speed was necessary, so you can
just so you have it.
Exactly.
So I feel like you already kind of explained. I mean, if you have anything else that I missed on Arch or no?
No, it's just pretty much the Landorus. The speed investment. The speed investment, it was just 4 speed investment for a long time. I took a little bit out of defense and put it into speed because I saw that people were running like 106 and 107 Raging Bolt in the VR tournament before Toronto. And so I was like, it would be kind of nice to outspeed the middle speed Calm Mind Raging Bolts, right? So I added a little bit of speed. So I think I'm 108 speed stat on the Arch.
Nice. Just for like the opportunity if it comes up, like
exactly. And the defense rolls weren't really coming up that much anyway. And so I didn't feel like it was super necessary.
Okay, awesome, cool. So tell me about Amoonguss. So I mean, typically you're either gonna see like the max bold or like this careful set. So why did you run this EV spread? I'm curious.
So I have never actually been a fan of the max bold set. I don't think it's bad. The only time I've ever run it is on like a hard Trick Room Calyrex Ice team that I ran at Indianapolis actually, and afterwards because of Chen Pao, which I think is why most people run it. But again, I didn't think that actually living Icicle Crash was super necessary for this Amoonguss, because I felt like in front of Chien-Pao, I wasn't really doing much anyway a lot of the time. So I'd really just rather have Incineroar or Urshifu.
And
I also have a lot of
lower their attack anyway, right?
Right, exactly. And I also have a lot of Chien-Pao resistances. I've got Archaludon, who it doesn't resist, but it kind of does, because it does like 30% you get a boost, right, if they hit you.
Yeah.
Urshifu resists it, Incineroar resists it, and then Porygon 2 is kind of the same as Archaludon, right? If they hit you, they're doing like 30%, and you can just recover the next turn.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like living Chien-Pao was super necessary. So I went with this more balanced spread. It was just kind of comfort. There was no real reason for it. I knew I wanted to be fast, though. I know a lot of people are going like 48 speed Amoonguss to underspeed like Ursaluna's. But being able to Sludge Bomb and Pollen Puff before opposing Amoonguss attacked was like pretty valuable. So I went with like the neutral speed and the max IV. I could have added 4 speed and 4 special attack just to give it a little bit more of that bump. I don't think that would be bad if you want to play the team yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So the idea was into the mirror. You don't want to have Trick Room up to go first. You rather find the value of let me get the first attack off or the Pollen Puff into the Terra Grass Arch before Sludge Bomb takes it out. That makes sense. That's cool.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I guess the 4 and 4 would help just really lock that in most scenarios. So I see why you're saying that. Would you take that out of defense, special defense, if you would do that?
Probably defense, but again, yeah, because I think you hit the bump in special defense. But again, I wasn't really EV'd for anything in particular, so I would probably just play with it until you find something you like.
Awesome. And then P2, you kind of told me about the – oops, I'm getting a spam call. Sorry about that. In Porygon 2, I saw that you mentioned the attack stats. Anything that the bulk does for you specifically?
No, this is more just comfort. I think I just kind of played with it. I also, if I wanted to if I played any other Porygon 2, I wanted to make sure they got the attack boost. And so I was almost always bringing my own Porygon 2 into those matchups a lot of the time. And so I got a little bit more Spadef than defense, but other than that, no real reason for the spread behind it.
Okay, awesome. And I do love the Terra Poison. I think it hits so many things hard right now. Like I think it's great. I think if I was gonna run Porygon 2, I'd also like Poison. I've tried flying, but flying feels like a Terra Hog too much because of the Ursaluna. Whereas without it, it feels like you can use it more as individual piece, which I like about that. So that's awesome. And then Incin, everyone has always like takes on like fast Incin, slow Incin, what item. I saw Rocky Helmet 1. Tell me more about this guy. Like I'd love to hear more about this. Just really bulky Terra Bug, standard 4 move, but the slow speed. Anything else about Incin that we should know about?
Not particularly. I think it's a really good bring into like Amoonguss Golden Go, which actually picked up, and it's picking up a little bit more on like hyper offense teams. They'll just have an Amoonguss Golden Go mode where they can just click Rage Powder or Nasty Plot. And so the safety goggles really helps in those matchups. Where you can just click Knockoff or Flare Blitz into the Golden Go immediately. Terra Bug, I put on there as kind of like a Landorus coping mechanism, because, to pretend that I could like resist Landorus with this guy. But I didn't really click it. I think it's probably the least refined part of the team. I don't know exactly what Terra fits Incin the best. I don't think I Terastallized it the entire tournament, and I maybe Terastallized it once in practice. And I tried Ghost, I tried Water, and nothing felt super good. So I don't know. That's something you could definitely experiment with.
Okay, cool. And this is really great, but I think you're doing a really good job of describing the team. I guess before we go into the run, last thing is, if you would change anything about the team going forward, what would those changes be?
That's a really good question. I think the biggest thing is the team has no Regidrago resists. If you look at it, there's not a single Pokemon in here that resists Regidrago, which ended up we'll get into the run in a little bit, but that ended up being my undoing. And so I think the important thing, one of the biggest things for the team is to outspeed it. And I think because Urshifu is the only Pokemon that can outspeed it, I think I would have changed Aqua Jet to Ice Spinner, just giving me that option to hit it for super effective without lowering my defenses with close combat. You have tools into it. Terra Steel Pelipper lives a Draco Meteor from it.
Yeah, Wide Guard.
You got Wide Guard, exactly. So you have some counterplay, but it's not an easy matchup. And so I think having Ice Spinner over Aqua Jet is definitely an option. It's a trade-off, right? But I think it's definitely an option. Other than that, I think the team is about as refined as I can make it.
Awesome.
There aren't any more changes that I can think off the top of my head where I was like during the tournament, I wish I had this move over this move, or I wish I had this Terra type, etc.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. I think when it comes to the Drago, I mean, the good thing is, it's a really tough matchup. I think you have a lot of tools. What the problem is that they have a lot more exerting pressure than you do, so you're on the back foot a lot of the time. But yeah, I mean, the fact that you don't have that many changes, I mean, really shows you that like this is a fucking cool team, man. Like, I think what stands out to me is people want to mess around with the Incineroar, like some of the Terra types. I mean, that could be something that people that you mentioned earlier. They want to make Amoonguss a little bit faster. I'm just letting you guys know at home. So if you want to make these changes, I got you. You guys can maybe add some speed or like 4 and 4 into Amoonguss, and then lastly, Urshifu. Try the spinner, man. See what happens. Because even for me, like I think one matchup we'll talk about. I'm curious that I don't know if you played it a lot or not. You didn't play any hard trick room teams, but those teams are always a little funky. I feel like for teams like this, as a rain player, like those teams are always sometimes like, without a Amoonguss that dominates. It's kind of tricky now with the whole smear goals and stuff running around too. So it's cool, man. So really cool team, man. So now I want to talk about the fun part. Where is it right here? The run. 11th place out of, I think, 800 something players. Like, dude, you kicked ass this weekend. You beat some really big players. Like, I see Michael Kelsch here. I see Navjit Joshi here. There's a lot of studs who were out this weekend, and you took freaking names, bro. So the way I want to do this for everyone watching at home is kind of just go round by round, talk about your experience in the round, the matchup, how it felt to you. And then for you start really hearing about your perspective on the games. And then as well as if someone who was using the team, someone who you inspired to cook with this rain team was playing against that archetype, what advice you would give them on how to beat that matchup. How does that sound, bro?
Yeah, sounds great.
Sick, dude.
Get into it.
Let's do it. So let me move my face down so people can see the screen a little bit better. Awesome. So round 1 versus Abhishek Mandalam. He's running my Grimmsnarl, baby. But tell me more about this round 1, starting the tournament, day 1, round 1. How are you feeling? Tell me about it.
So I saw the Grimmsnarl and I got really nervous, actually. I was like, oh no, I've got to deal with Thunderwave immediately, right? I was like, I know the Thunderwave Fluttermanes were running around. I did not want to play Thunderwave Grimmsnarl with screens. That did not look like a fun matchup. But the good thing is this team only had one Amoonguss spore resistance, right? It had Incineroar with safety goggles, and it never came because I'm assuming my opponent was super scared of the Pelipper Urshifu mode. They never brought Incineroar. And so that made the matchup a lot easier, I think. Amoonguss was able to just kind of put everything to sleep. When you see teams like that are really weak to Amoonguss, really leaning into the Arch mode with Amoonguss is just really, really strong. And so I think I brought the core 4, like I said, Pelipper, Urshifu, Arch, and Amoonguss both games. And it was just really strong. The Snarl helped a lot because the Archaludon was Assault Vest. And so I think I took the combination of Dragon Pulse plus Earth Power with my Archaludon after a Snarl. And was just able to pollen puff myself back up. And then, it was a very, Amoonguss really dominated the matchup. It put everything to sleep, let Archaludon boost up, and then weaken everything with Snarl. And the Amoonguss was just really strong in this matchup. And it was fairly straightforward.
Yeah, so Amoonguss, Arch, what were the other partners that you would tell people to bring as well into something like this?
Yeah, so in game, I think both games, I led Pelipper Archaludon. So I a lot of times I like to get the rain up early and switch Pelipper out for Amoonguss turn 1. That lets me first is most of the attacks that Pelipper is going to take are resisted by Amoonguss, right?
They have great synergy. They do.
Exactly. Electroshot, or sorry, not Electroshot, Thunderclap and Thunderbolt from Raging Bolt, or Electroweb. I think this one had.
Yep.
The Moonblast from Fluttermane. A lot of people try to Moonblast Pelipper with Fluttermane, so switching into Amoonguss to that was really good. So I led Peli Arch both games, and then, like I said, in the back, I brought Amoonguss Urshifu in game 1, and then I brought Amoonguss Incin in game 2, just really leaning into the Archaludon setup mode. And just clicking Electroshot whenever I could, and then clicking Snarl whenever I needed to weaken Fluttermane and Ursaluna, just kind of wanted me to set.
Snarl plus Intimidate. I mean, with an Arch and Recovery, it's hard to break that wall. It really is.
Yep.
Especially if they're trying to play with this like screens idea of like, okay, I'm gonna try to like slow it down. Well, you're advancing more than they're reducing, so it makes a big difference there. So that's awesome. Want to know? And then now we got double genies, but we got a different kind of genie. We got Thunderous. So tell me more about Jeffrey Ramsden-Bird.
Yeah, so this was a terrifying matchup. The Thunderous was really, really scary because I could snarl it down, but I couldn't hit it with Electroshot, right? Arch had one move to hit it, really, right? I could Dragon Pulse it, but I couldn't Electroshot into it, or I would heal it. I could snarl it down, but I can't really body press it either.
Was this Terra Fairy or no?
The Thunderous? No, so that was the other terrifying aspect of it. It was Terra Flying, Life Orb, Terra Blast.
Oh, what the hell? Wow.
Yeah, and so with Tornado support, I knew that Urshifu, because my Urshifu's Terra Grass, I can't resist both the flying and electric coverage, right?
Yeah.
So I knew Urshifu was pretty bad here, especially with the Ogerpon Wellspring.
Yep.
I think I actually brought it in both games, which is actually no, I brought it in game 1 only. But I kind of got, I don't want to say lucky game 1, but I made a hard read that he would leave Tornadus in and not Terrestrialize. And so I switched my Urshifu out and got an Electroshock into the Torn early, which was really, really helpful because I was then able to clean up with Urshifu after I stalled out the Tailwind in game 1.
Yeah.
But the Thunders just put on so much pressure in game 2. And I said, okay, my opponent doesn't really have any Trick Room answers, right? They've got Ursaluna, which is kind of a Trick Room answer, but everything else looks like it should be faster than Archaludon. And everything, including Ursaluna, might be slower or might be faster than Pelipper, right? So I knew that I wanted to bring...
With your spread, Pelipper might be slower in Trick Room.
Exactly. So so I really wanted to lean into the Trick Room mode for game 2. But the Tornadus had Taunt, which is why I didn't bring it game 1. It's Covert Cloak with Taunt. And so I was like, okay, I can't really bring P2 game 1. And he led with Torn, but it died turn 1. And I was like, okay, so it died turn 1. It didn't really do anything except set up Tailwind and die. So I don't think he's going to lead at game 2 if he does bring it. So I brought P2 up front in game 2, and he didn't bring Tornadus. So I was able to set up Trick Room, Snarl the Ursaluna again. And then, again, this one was also Assault Vest. So the Assault Vest variants really don't do much damage at -1. Even with Earth Power. And so I didn't really ever feel pressured to Terrestrialize because I had Amoonguss support to Pollen Puff myself up.
No,
definitely. So I was able to like kind of slowly chip away at Ursaluna and Thundurus in like the middle game. My opponent brought Ogerpon and Goldengo in the back this game. So there was no Tornadus at all. And Goldengo actually proved to be pretty difficult because again, once Rain is gone, the only way I have to hit it is with Snarl on Arch, right? I can't. Dragon Pulse isn't doing any damage, and Body Press it literally isn't doing anything. And Electroshot they can just protect in front of. So the only way I can actually damage the Goldengo was with Snarl once Pelipper went down. So the end game was actually really tricky, but I ended up being able to actually stall out the Thundurus. It was at like 35%, and I was able to live a few Life Orb ticks with Porygon 2 while I was like recovering. And I was able to win that way by kind of stalling out the Thundurus, letting it go down. And then by that point, my opponent's Goldengo was at like -5 from clicking Make It Rain over and over again. And so P2 was able to win that 1v1.
Yeah,
but it was
such a good 1v1 mon, dude. It just sits there and like, all right, if you're not doing more than half, you're just losing. you just lose.
Yep, and it was really, really good. And the Spadef, the extra Spadef really helped me in that matchup. I think I lived in game 2. I think I lived with 6 HP one turn and 2 or 4 HP the turn after, and able to recover. So I definitely got lucky with some rolls there, but yeah, the spread was also definitely came in clutch.
I mean, dude, that's the best part when you have these bulky Pokemon. Even like my Arch in the past, when it gets low, it's like all you need to do is just survive the one hit, and then you're good. And Porygon 2 is the king of that. It's one of the thickest Pokemon in the game. You can't take it off the board, and when it gets to recover, and then they have Life Orb especially. Oh my god, so demoralizing. It's great. So now you're cooking, and you've played 2 Blood Moons so far, which is an interesting takeaway. But game 3, you're playing against Ethan Trejo, who I also believe did very well at this tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he also made 11-2. So I'm sure I could pull his team up right here. So now you're playing against this guy. Boom. Size Spam, Crown, Urshi, and Flutter. Tell me about this matchup.
Yeah, so this one was pretty tricky. So normally in the Iron Crown stuff, I try to kind of chip down their Indeedee early on and then go for like a late game Trick Room mode, right? Like kind of chip down the Indeedee, get Crown into range, and then bring in Pelipper, Archaludon with Porygon 2, and click Snarl Electroshot, right? Because the partners don't really take the combination of Pelipper plus Archaludon very well. Fluttermane's okay into it, but normally a combination attack of like Electroshot plus Weather Ball will knock it out. Urshifu dies to Hurricane, Hearthflame dies to Hurricane, and then Crown gets snarled, right? So that was kind of the thought process going in, but I saw that my opponent had Calm Mind with Terra Psychic, and so I figured this was a Speed Booster Crown, and it was Speed Booster Crown. And so I realized that up front, my opponent can't actually really do any damage with Crown. They just don't have much damage up front, especially because I can snarl them over and over again. Because they're Terra Psychic. So I was pretty confident that my opponent wasn't going to lead Indeedee, because leading Indeedee next to something is a strong lead, but it's not super intuitive, especially for Iron Crown players, right? They normally like to lead them together or not lead them at all. And so I think I brought Arch and P2 up front in game 1, and then brought Pelipper and Urshifu in the back, so I could go for kind of like an early game Trick Room and then sweep with Urshifu under Rain in the end game.
Yeah.
That worked pretty well. The Tornadus was with Sunny Day was a little bit of a quirk, right? Most of the time on these teams, you see Tornadus with Rain Dance, right? To boost the Urshifu, but this had Sunny Day to boost the Flutter and the Ogerpon.
Yeah.
And so I think what I was able to do was kind of get into a situation where I could U-turn the Tornadus in the same turn as clicking Electroshot and bring in the Pelipper for the Urshifu, so that even if they click Sunny Day, I would move next with U-turn, hit the Torn, bring in Pelipper, and click Electroshot into the Tornadus. And I think that won me game 1 pretty cleanly.
Okay.
Game 2, my opponent switched to Urshifu and Indeedee, which is more of a lead that I think is pretty good into my team. Yeah. And I clicked I think I clicked Hurricane and Electroshot into the I led Arch and P2 again. Okay. And I clicked Electroshot and switched P2 out into Pelipper, right? So my opponent's Indeedee has Imprison, first of all.
So you might click Imprison to stop your Porygon too.
From setting up Trick Room, exactly. Especially because the Trick Room caused him a lot of problems game 1. Yeah. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's going to click Imprison again. He did click Imprison. I went for Electroshot into the Ursh and switched in Pelipper. And my Archaludon got crit by close combat. And so I pretty much instantly lost game 2 off of that because the EVs let me live most Urshifu Rapid Strike close combat. If they're max attack adamant, I think it's a roll. It might be a 50% roll. Okay. But again, most of the surging strikes, most of the Terra Water ones aren't max adamant because they want to live Thunderclap or some other special attacks, right? So a lot of them have dropped some attack for some bulk, but
so it was at least a really bad roll, or it was just like, no chance. Like you said, no chance. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so the critical hit just sealed it, and I was like, that sucks. And so I lost game 2 pretty quickly. But my opponent brought Crown and Flutter in the back, so it was like kind of doable with P2 still in the back with my Urshifu, right? Because I was able to bring in my Urshifu and click Surging Strikes and stuff like that. But it was quite tricky. Game 3, I brought the same core. I brought Ursh and Pelly up front. I actually meant to bring Ursh and Arch, but I kind of misinput. Accidentally, because I meant to do the thing. I meant to lead Ursh Arch so I could do the U-turn into Pelipper and click Electroshot in the same turn. But I accidentally led Pelipper into Sunny Day Torn, which is not something you're supposed to do. But I repositioned pretty well. I switched out Pelipper for Arch and then U-turned back into Pelipper on turn, in turn 1. So they clicked Sunny Day, but then the sun immediately went away in front of Ogerpon, which was nice. So they had to click Sunny Day again on turn 2. I think I got a critical hit on their Flutter Mane with Hurricane in Sun. So first of all, I connected the Hurricane, and then I crit the Flutter Mane as well. The crit exactly, especially what happened to me in game 2. I was like, okay,
we're even now.
We're even, exactly. But it didn't really end up mattering outside of the fact that I was able to click Snarl into the Flutter Mane instead of Electroshot to KO it later on and get a little bit of chip on Indeedee in the process, but the chip didn't really end up mattering. So the crit helped, especially psychologically.
You do that. The other player just like, ain't no way.
Yeah, exactly.
So that fusion too, and then it would have been great.
Yeah. I actually, funny thing is, I think I might have, but I think my opponent snapped out immediately or snapped out on the next turn or something like that.
That'd have been crazy. You got the crit in Sun and the confusion.
I like I said, I might have actually gotten the confusion, but if I did, it didn't activate at all. Yeah, which was nuts. And I clicked Hurricane into the Indeedee because I predicted the Ogerpon to switch in, but it ended up being the Flutter Mane, and I got the crit anyway, which was crazy. But that helped me win game 2. But just the presence of Pelipper being able to kind of switch in and switch out and reset the rain in front of Tornadus was really, really strong. And like I said, that crit on the Flutter Mane
was very good for that. Like leveraging U-turn to like make sure they either have to click a Sunny Day or Tailwind. And if they don't, you reposition well. I think the U-turn Arch Pally stuff is cool for that nature.
100%. I also think I could be misremembering, but I also want to say Ethan's Flutter Mane was special attack boosting. I could be wrong because it has Icy Wind. I actually don't remember.
I think it would be, because choice specs. I mean, with Tailwind, I can see it doing that.
Yeah, so that also helped because my Urshifu still outsped it after a Sunny Day. Which helped the matchup a little bit as well. But yeah, I was able to play into an endgame where I got Tornadus by itself against Pelipper and one more, and that's always a winning endgame for me because I can just click Wide Guard and attack with the partner. So that's something you want to kind of think of or kind of keep in mind when you're playing the team. Is there's a lot of endgames where if you just get Pelipper next to one more against Tornadus, or like Amoonguss next to one more against the Calm Mind Raging Bolt, and your Terra Fairy Amoonguss, you always win those endgames. So those are kind of the endgames you want to be thinking to play too.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So I think it was a very electric match, a lot of crazy turns there. But if someone else was playing against this kind of team, like what would their matchup key be? Like, what should they be bringing? What should they be playing towards? What would you say?
I think the 4 that I brought are pretty good. I think I brought every game. I brought Arch P2, Arch P2, Peli, and Urshifu.
Okay.
I think Urshifu is okay in this matchup. It does depend on whether they're Flutter Mane to Speed Booster energy. If they're Flutter Mane to Speed Booster, I don't think Urshifu is nearly as good because they can just Sunny Day and Moonblast you and you lose. But I also think that Amoonguss gets better in that matchup if it is Speed Booster. So I think and Incineroar as well because you can Flare Blitz them. So I think it just depends. I think all 6 Pokemon can come, but I think Archaludon and Pelipper are definitely necessary because of the Sunny Day Torn and because Snarl is really good into the Crown mode.
Yeah, and on that note, like, guys, write that down. If you're playing with this team, write that down because, again, this team is clearly a path to success. Again, even at Birmingham, we saw 2 Rains in the top 32. So Rain could be on the rise, man. And that's why even in the next round, he played another stud player, top cut Worlds before, maybe arguably the best Canadian player in the world, some might say, Mr. Navjit Joshi with a Crest Luna balance team. We saw, I believe he played a very similar team to Mr. Aaron Brock, who also did very well. So tell me about this matchup. Again, you're 3-0, playing a good player. For me, when I was 3-0 in Toronto, I had to play Wolf in my next round. So very similar, like star player in the 4-0 match. Tell me more about this, bro.
Yeah, so I saw this matchup and I thought it was okay for me. Most of the Ursaluna matchups are pretty okay because you can U-turn your own Archaludon, get a defense boost, and in the same turn bring in Incineroar for the Intimidate, right? So you cut the power of Ursaluna basically in half, exactly. Maybe even a little less than half. I think it's 4/9, right? So the Ursaluna matchups are pretty good for me normally, but Navjit didn't bring Ursaluna in any of the games we played, which I think is the right play because Ursaluna is not very good into me. So all 4 games, he brought Urshifu, Flutter Mane, Cresselia, and Amoonguss. The Rocky Helmet Amoonguss is really annoying because even though I have Terra Grass, I still, like, if I get the prediction wrong and I Surging Strikes into the slot where he switches Amoonguss in, I lose half my Urshifu's health.
Yeah.
Right? And Urshifu's kind of my only way to deal with Choice Specs Flutter Mane. Because I didn't bring P2 because of my opponent's own Amoonguss, right? I didn't want to get spored under Trick Room. And so, Urshifu was kind of my only way to deal with Flutter Mane, so I had to play it very carefully. I remember this set, I made a lot of hard reads, to be honest. I think this was definitely the set that I think I played the best in the tournament in terms of making reads on my opponent's play. There were a lot of turns where I had to guess, okay, is my opponent going to switch Crest into Amoonguss or Flutter into Amoonguss? And I got a lot of those turns correct. I think my opponent also, I mean, they outplayed me in game 1, I think. Looking at my notes.
No worries, take your time, bro.
Yeah, but regardless, the 4 Pokemon that he brought were very tricky, especially with Icy Wind Crest, being able to slow down my own Ursh, right, for their Flutter Mane. That was something I had to be aware of. So I had to be very, like, kind of on guard about, okay, when is my opponent going to click Icy Wind to let Flutter Mane outspeed me? When are they going to just attack with Flutter Mane? When are they going to switch into Amoonguss? Those kinds of things.
Did you feel like their goal was mainly the Icy Wind mode, or do you feel like they wanted to go more into Trick Room? Like, how did they kind of play against you? And also, what did you bring to beat them? I'm curious.
Right. So in game 1, I brought Urshifu, Archaludon, Pelipper, and Incineroar, which I think I was bringing the Incineroar mainly to deal with the Ursaluna. That's generally my game plan against Ursaluna teams, but Incineroar really didn't do a whole lot. I think I lost game 1. Their Mystic Water Urshifu, supported by Icy Wind, was really, really hard for my team to get through, especially because my Arch does not like taking close combat, and it doesn't like taking Icy Wind after it terrestrializes to grass. Even with the calm nature, I was still taking too much damage from that plus Sludge Bomb from the Amoonguss. So and just Specs Flutter just does a lot of damage in general, right? So I realized that Incineroar really isn't very good here if they don't bring Ursaluna, and so I kind of soft read my opponent to not bring Ursaluna in games 2 and 3 because I brought Incineroar game 1, and they didn't. That let me bring Amoonguss, which my Amoonguss definitely helped into their Urshifu Rapid Strike, right? It really gave me a little bit of support that I needed because even though the Crest has safety goggles and it can Lunar Blessing to wake stuff up, first, it has to take a turn to do that, and 2, it also deters my opponent from going for Trick Room. Yes. My opponent's Fluttermane, first of all, can underspeed my Urshifu under Trick Room, and then I'm kind of in a tough spot. And also, their Urshifu under Trick Room is a little tricky as well sometimes, especially supported by Amoonguss. And their Amoonguss just does a lot of damage with Sludge Bomb to my Arch or to my Ursh or whatever terrestrializes to grass. And if I don't terrestrialize, they put me to sleep, right? And so bringing my Amoonguss helped kind of alleviate some of that pressure. And keeping Pelipper alive was a really, really big thing in this matchup because I needed Pelipper to KO their Amoonguss with Hurricane. And as soon as I think I got that call right in game 3 of when they were switching out Fluttermane into Amoonguss in front of my Pelipper. And I clicked Hurricane into it, and I think that would definitely won me the game from there.
Okay, got it. So the idea here is what it sounds like the way you played it was your goal is to tell me, like, what was the goal of the matchup? What did you realize about it? And then how did you kind of figure it out? And then do you feel like, again, like you had to make those reads? Did you feel like you have to play aggressive? Do you feel like you have to weather the storm more? Like, how does someone who's playing against this, like, do-it-all balanced team beat it?
Yeah, good. So there's a couple things. First, you've got to decide whether or not your opponent's going to bring Ursaluna, right? And I think what I led and brought game 1 was very Ursaluna-centric, and my opponent didn't bring Ursaluna, and I lost. And so I realized, okay, they're probably not going to bring Ursaluna for game 2 because they just won without it, right? And so then my game plan became, okay, I need to keep my Urshifu alive to knock out their Fluttermane. And once I do that, Archaludon is pretty good, right? Terra Grass Archaludon is pretty good into Cress, Amoonguss, and Urshifu Rapid Strike.
Yeah.
However, I can't just Surging Strikes into the Fluttermane for free because the Amoonguss has Rocky Helmet. And so the goal became threaten with Urshifu to get their Amoonguss on the board and then knock out the Amoonguss with my Pelipper. So that became kind of the general game plan, and I think I executed that pretty well in games 2 and 3. It took a while, and there were a lot of times where I'd have to threaten with Urshifu, and then you turn into the partner, like into the Crest or into their Urshifu, just to get my Urshifu off the field when their Fluttermane was off the field. While maintaining the pressure on the Amoonguss with Pelipper. So I think there were some times where you're going to have to make some reads about, okay, my opponent has this defensive play available. What can I do to maintain pressure? Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's cool, man. Dude, again, like, you beat a stud player as well. I think he also finished, top 32?
I think, he finished 9-3, I think, in Swiss. So
yeah, stud, man. You beat another great player. So now you're 4-0, man. Now you're cooking. But it looks like this is where you get the first real challenge, right? So I'm looking at this now. We got Juan. We got the Dozo, bro. Let's see if he's up here somewhere.
I think he also finished 9-3.
Wow, you had a crazy schedule, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, so I think everybody that I played either went positive. I think they either went 4-4, 5-3, or higher.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
I would be looking at this.
Yeah, it was a crazy day. But this team.
Woo!
So most of my Dozo lines I think are really good.
Yeah.
Especially the Unaware Leftovers ones. I think Amoonguss P2 really just rolls those over.
Yeah.
Amoonguss P2 is still pretty good into Oblivious Dozo because if I get the special attack boost, like that sticks, right? The Unaware doesn't ignore, like he doesn't have Unaware, he's got Oblivious, so the special attack boost does meaningful damage. Same thing with Amoonguss. If I can get a poison on this thing, the damage sticks, right? The Dozo has no way to recover with Rocky Helmet. Yeah. So it changes the way I play this a little bit. All 3 games, I brought Urshifu, Incin, P2, Amoonguss, which is another reason I added P2 to the team, was because I wanted a Pokemon that fit with Amoonguss, Incin, and Urshifu if I needed to not bring Rain, right? Because that was the other thing that I didn't really like about the team at times, was that I was kind of forced into bringing Pelipper and Archaludon, or Pelipper or Archaludon. And neither of those feel exceptional on themselves. Right, exactly, on their own. And so that was another reason I wanted P2, is to have this kind of more balanced core with Incin, Amoonguss, P2, Urshifu. And that's what I brought all 3 games here. Game 1, I led the same thing in all 3 games. I led, actually, I take that back. I didn't bring Incin in game 3, and I'll explain why. But I led Urshifu P2 in game 1, and they led Bolt Chi-Yu. And I was like, okay, they can Thunderclap my Ursh and KO it, or they can Thunderclap Heatwave, right, and KO the Ursh regardless of whether or not I Terra, as long as they connect the Heatwave on my Terra Grass Ursh.
And their Chi is faster than your Urshifu, so
their Chi is faster than my Urshifu, and I was pretty sure that would be the case, especially because I have a lot of bulk on my Urshifu, right? Yeah. So even if I was adamant, I was still pretty sure they would outspeed. But because I have so much bulk, I was like very confident that they would outspeed.
Yeah.
So I was like, and normally, like I said, I live a Thunderclap, but not with Beads of Ruin, right? And so I was like, okay, they could Thunderclap me. I'm gonna save my Ursh for later. So I switched it to, I think, Incin. I don't really remember. I think I switched it to Incin. And I took a Ruination and Draco Meteor, and my P2 went down. And I pretty much lost game 1 pretty much off of that read. And I was like, all right, fair enough. They got me.
Yeah.
Like, let's run it back for game 2. So I brought the same core. I said Urshifu, P2, Incin, Amoonguss in the back. But this time I was like, okay, if they do Heat Wave and Thunderclap my Ursh, or if they do just Thunderclap me in general, then I get the Trick Room off still, right? I get the the Trick Room off P2
if they go for clap.
Right, exactly. And if they can't stop Trick Room, then Amoonguss and P2, like even if I take some chip on P2, I can put the Chi-Yu to sleep. Like there's no Spore Switch-ins, right? Like on this team.
Yeah.
So if I get Amoonguss under Trick Room, I'm pretty good, even if Urshifu goes down, right? I was pretty sure I could win that 3v4 with Trick Room up, was my thought process.
Yeah.
Especially because I was pretty confident my opponent would have Dozogiri in the back. I was pretty confident that I could both set Trick Room up and then keep it up after the Dozo came in.
Yeah, because you have a good pin into the Dozo with the Terra Poison and Spore. Like you have a very good a pin into that as well. Okay, so keep cooking. Now what happens on turn 1?
Exactly. So I do this. I think I knock out the Chi-Yu as it goes for Heat Wave, and I think the Bolt clicked. I don't remember what the Bolt clicked. Maybe Snarl. Yeah, the Bolt. Maybe it was double Snarl. I think that's what my opponent clicked, which made sense. They got rid of my. They tried to lower my P2 so that I couldn't Ice Beam them later. But I did get the attack boost from download because they had Chi-Yu and Raging Bolt on the field, and Chi-Yu's physical defense is pretty bad. So I got the attack boost, and so Urshifu actually stayed alive, which was pretty bad for me. I would have rather Urshifu gone down because I KO'd the Chi-Yu, but oh no, sorry. Game 2 they led Fluttermane. They didn't lead Raging Bolt.
Okay.
They led Fluttermane,
So
which was
and Chi.
Yep, exactly. And so I led Ursh and
P2.
And P2, right. And so I Surging Strikes the Chi-Yu. They switched the Flutter out to Dondozo, trying to hit me with a Rocky Helmet.
I see.
In the Surging Strikes, but I targeted the Chi-Yu. I KO'd the Chi-Yu, but I set up Trick Room. And so their Fluttermane was able to come in and underspeed me under Trick Room, which is pretty awkward. Or they could switch to Tatsugiri, right? So it was a guessing game.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was, all right, I'm going to switch in Incin just in case they switch in Tatsugiri. Into the P2 slot, right? So that I have Fake Out Pressure on the next turn, because I was pretty sure they weren't just going to rip Wave Crash into my P2, although they could. But I was okay with that, because then I get P2 and Amoonguss under Trick Room, and I kind of already talked about why I think that's a winning position for me.
Yep.
So I get to this point, I'm like, okay, I'm going to switch in Incin to get Fake Out Pressure for next turn, and I'm just going to sack the Ursh and let them click Dazzling Gleam, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna force them, if they want to stay in with Fluttermane and click Dazzling Gleam, that's fine. I'll get Fake Out Pressure next turn, and I'll let Ursh go down, and I'll get a better Pokemon Trickerman, right? I'll get Porygon 2 or Full Health Amoonguss in. What they ended up doing was clicking Dazzling Gleam and Wave Crash into the P2 without switching to Tatsugiri, and that was really bad. What is it?
Bad for them or bad for you?
Bad for me because the Fluttermane KOs my Ursh with Dazzling Gleam before I get to move, and the Incin, because I don't get the Intimidate down because of Oblivious, the Incin goes down to Wave Crash plus Dazzling Gleam. So I lost both.
Okay.
But again, like I said before, P2 plus Amoonguss in Trick Room is like still good for me. So I was still like, okay, this is bad. My opponent kind of got like a hard read right, I felt like in the moment. Although I guess now maybe that was probably their most optimal play. But in the moment, I was like, okay, my opponent just kind of hard read me again on turn 2.
Yeah.
But I'm still okay. And I ended up playing to an end game. I think I had to read when the Dondozo was going to Terra to Grass. And I Terra Poison, Terra Blast, and Sludge Bombed with the Amoonguss into it.
Nice.
So I got a lot of chip down. And then I was able to set up Trick Room as the Dozo was going down, if that makes sense. And so once I set up the Trick Room as the Dozo was going down, Tatsugiri came in, Fluttermane came in. I had to deal with some sleep turns and some protects, but it was clean-ish, as clean as the Dozo matchup.
Yeah. Right.
After that.
Yeah.
And then game 3, which is my opponent went back to the Bolt Chi-Yu lead, which is what I was expecting for game 2, right? And my thought process was, okay, if I get Thunderclapped, then I could probably win with Trick Room anyway, right? As long as I get Trick Room up.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, Instant hasn't really done anything, right? Game 1, it just kind of died to, or it just kind of, it doesn't do anything into the Oblivious Dozo, right? I can't really fake it out because I take a ton of chip, and I can't Intimidate it because it's Oblivious. The only thing I can really do is Parting Shot. So I was like, I'm going to drop Incineroar for Pelipper because I can force the Dozo to Terra to Grass or Spore it, and then I can Hurricane it.
That's Trick Room, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. However, my opponent just Thunderclapped my Urshifu this game, and so with Urshifu going down, I was forced to then bring in Amoonguss a little bit earlier than I would have liked because the Dozo wasn't on the field. The Dozo wasn't on the field already.
Yeah, Bolt. You have Trick Room next to Gus. Okay.
Yep. So I was able to spore some things, but also their Raging Bolt can kind of just click Snarl and Draco for free. into P2 and Amoonguss. And so I was able to keep my HP relatively high, but they were also able to keep their HP relatively high.
They weren't taking as much damage as you wanted them to take.
Exactly. So they were able to kind of slowly stall out my Trick Room. And they eventually brought in Dozo, but their Dozo actually O-code my Pelipper with like the Commander Boost and Rain with Wave Crash. So I just dropped to resisted Wave Crash, and I was like, okay, I didn't know that role. I'm okay losing in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's actually like I'm actually curious what that looks like. That might not. Were you at full HP or no?
I was at full HP. Yeah, I hadn't attacked yet. I hadn't even taken a turn of Life Orb chip.
Let's do a live calc for the boys at home. Let's do it.
Because I think what I had done was I clicked Hurricane into the Dozo and Trick Room with P2, and I was like, I saw that my opponent had went for Wave Crash and Pelipper, and I thought I'd won, right? I thought I'd KO the Dozo and set up Trick Room in the same turn, but what ended up happening was my Pelipper just went down, and I basically lost the game because I had no way to beat Chiyu and Raging Bolt in the back.
Well, they must have been like max. They must have been like max adamant. I don't know. They might have low rolled you, man, because they have to be like max adamant for that to KO.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked. I think I did the calc after, and it does a lot.
I'm like, wow, like how is that even possible?
Yeah. I take. They might have also had an order up boost.
Okay.
So they might have been +3. I don't remember actually off the top of my head.
It's interesting though. It's interesting.
Because I think I looked at it after, and I think it was like a roll from like middle lane. Yeah. I think that's the roll that I saw. So I think they must have been +1 from order up. But anyway, I felt like I kind of got hard read in both games 1 and games 3 on turn 1, and so I wasn't too upset to lose.
And you played well. You still found a way to win game 2. Like I feel like your game plans are pretty good. I just like the Dozo players I feel like a lot of their prep comes down to like, let me see the tendency of the other players' styles, and then like let me just make the reads based off the old tendencies I practiced against.
Yeah.
Even this team like did very well at a very similar team at Birmingham. He finished in second. Marcus Coe.
Yeah.
He led Chiyu Dozo like every game. I think he had Dragonite instead of Bolt, but everyone else was the same.
Yeah. And I think the team is really strong. But I was like a little frustrated because, like I said, I felt like my Dozo matchups going in were pretty good. And again, I felt like the set was winnable, right? It was not an auto lose matchup. I knew going into the tournament that Drago was a really bad matchup for me, and I didn't have Drago, and I lost, and I felt pretty bad about that. But at the same time, like you said, my opponent played really well. They knew the calls they had to make. And I didn't feel horrendous about losing it, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
So my opponent played well in a pretty neutral matchup. So
for sure. I mean, hey, so now you're 4-1. Now you're actually playing against my friend Richie Wan. So you're playing against Richie, and he was also. You guys are both now 4-1. Let me pull up his team as well here. Another Iron Crown. Hold on, let me load this out here. Richard Wan. Okay, top 64. Yeah, you're a matchup. You had a lot of good players. Okay, so now the Drago's here.
Yeah,
the beginning of what we're talking about. So tell me more about this. Different Iron Crown, no Flutter. He has Drago instead. Talk to me, bro.
Yeah, so this is the matchup that I actually practiced a lot against. My local friend Eli, he's a senior. He finished top 16 at this tournament with this team. Almost exactly. Okay. So he helped me practice into this a decent amount. He was beating me pretty consistently, which makes sense because this matchup is pretty difficult for me. And I lost this matchup 2-0 as well, which is pretty funny. This one is a lot more playable than like the balanced version of Reggie Drago, though. Or I say balanced, but the hyper offense, the Golden Go version. Yeah, I think this matchup is okay because the Ndidi doesn't have Imprison, first of all, so that's a big thing. I can set up Trick Room against it, and if I do set up Trick Room, Porygon 2 plus Archaludon plus Pelipper and Trick Room is pretty good. So the game plans, again, they tend to center around, can I chip the Ndidi and then set up Trick Room and win the game from there? In game 1, I basically played this to perfection, except for the second to last turn of the game. So I had Urshifu and Porygon 2 on the field against my opponent's Urshifu, which was locked into...
I'm guessing Surging or CC?
Surging Strikes, I want to say. Yeah, but it was outside of Rain. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Or no. Sorry. It was like -2 Iron Crown because I'd snarled it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I had Urshifu and P2 up against those two, against Ndidi Iron Crown. And all I needed to do was just click Surging Strikes in Rain to KO the Ndidi and like take the Rocky Helmet chip and like sack off Urshifu if I needed to, but I just needed to KO the Ndidi to set up Trick Room. And then once I set up Trick Room, I would be able to KO the Reggie Drago with Ice Beam because my opponent had terrestrialized Crown to water earlier in the game.
Okay, yeah.
However, I clicked Close Combat. Part of that was because I wanted to take less helmet chip. That was the first reason.
Yeah.
The second reason was I just forgot that Surging Strikes would do more damage because the rain was up.
The rain was up.
Exactly. And so I missed out on that KO by like 10%. And Richie predicted me to click Trick Room. And so I clicked Trick Room and he clicked Trick Room, and the Trick Room's canceled out. And he was just able to follow me and Dragon Energy on the next turn and take both KOs.
Yeah. Wow.
So he got the read right. I think it was the right play from him, but if I had gone for the right play for me,
you would have won. You would have
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And then game 2, a lot of my game plans kind of revolve around the fact of like Pelipper has Wide Guard and Terra Steel, so it's pretty good in this matchup. And game 2, he led the same thing. He led Urshifu and Crown both games, which was a lead that I was not comfortable with. I had very little practice against that matchup, but I think against that lead, but I think it's actually very good into my team because it gives them the option to either bring in a DD and click Expanding Force, or not bring in a DD and click Expanding Force, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's like he basically ignores the Wide Guard.
Yeah.
He gets to see if I click Wide Guard, he can bring in Reggie Drago and click regular Expanding Force into Pelipper, and if I don't click Wide Guard, he can bring in a DD and click Expanding.
It's a weird like stack on it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's similar to my rain play with where I U-turn into Pelipper.
Yep.
He's U-turning into Ndidi. So it was a pretty cool play that he was going for. And I think in hindsight, what I probably should have done was just read the Urshifu to U-turn and click Wide Guard with Pelipper anyway, so that he doesn't bring in a DD, and then just smack the Drago with close combat. I think would have been my best play in hindsight.
Yeah.
Just to get a ton of damage down and stop Dragon Energy for the rest of the game. But what I was doing was I think I was also U-turning into his Crown because I was scared of single target Expanding Force into my Ursh. But again, I don't think
he applies all the pressure. Like you have no KO pressure turn 1. He has a lot of it. So
right.
You have to make the right play, but it's hard to make the right play in that situation.
Right. And so in game 2, I just didn't click Wide Guard, and so he U-turned into Ndidi and click Expanding Force, and I think just got a double KO and pretty much won the game from there. So against the Drago teams, like it is playable, but I've got to get a lot of calls right, and whoever's playing the team is gonna have to get a lot of calls right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I guess if you're playing against this team, someone's watching, and they have a tough matchup, what advice would be to make it at least playable, something like that?
Yeah, so make the Drago click Draco Meteor, because if it clicks Draco Meteor, it's doing a lot less damage for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then 2, keep your Porygon 2 alive and set up Trick Room when you can. When you're if you can get in a position where you can click Trick Room and make sure it stays up, right? You've chipped down the Ndidi enough so that you can make sure the Trick Room stays up, whether from them just predicting you to click Trick Room or for them, if they're like in range of a double attack, right? So you can like Electro Shot plus Terra Blast and knock out their Ndidi, then that should be the kind of the goal is we can make sure the Drago's clicking Draco Meteor because you live with Draco Meteor with both Arch and Terra Steel Peli. So click Wide Guard in front of Reggie Drago, make them click Draco Meteor, and try to set up Trick Room and win the game that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Nice, dude. So now I see a little streak we have inbound, which is great. So first we got Xavier Mendez. Tell me more about that matchup.
Yeah, so this is pretty standard Raging Bolt balance. He has the booster energy bolt, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think he went 4-4.
5-3, right? Or no, this is someone else.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, same last name.
I think he went 4-4. I think this was. Oh no, he.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he's popping.
Yeah. But he was using pretty standard bolt balance. Except like I said, he was using booster energy bolt. This one was pretty straightforward because of Snarl. I was able to lead Pelipper or Archaludon, and snarl down the bolt and put stuff to sleep with Amoonguss. Amoonguss is very, very good against Raging Bolt balance. And a lot of the times what the Bolt balance players will do is they'll adapt by bringing Ogerpon Hearthflame, right? They'll bring the Ogerpon Hearthflame mode to deal with the Amoonguss. But Ogerpon Hearthflame is also really bad into my Rain mode, right? It's really bad into Urshifu Rapid Strike and Rain, and it's really bad into Pelipper.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think my team does a really, really good job of dealing with Bolt balance between Snarl and Amoonguss and Rain.
Yeah. You have a lot of, I feel like, also a lot of teams are indexed to beat this. I think Rain, actually, your tools, you have a pretty good match into this as well.
Yeah.
So tell me more, like how did you win, and then what advice would you have someone playing against? I mean, everyone wants to know how to beat balance, right?
Yeah. So again, game 1, I led Pelipper and Archaludon into their Rillaboom Raging Bolt. And I was pretty sure that if they brought Bolt, they were also going to bring Incineroar just to have the double fake out core.
Yeah,
exactly. I wasn't sure if the last would be Hearthflame Ursh or Chen Pao, but honestly, I wasn't super concerned regardless because none of them. I think this Chen Pao might have been running double dark move, might have been running Sucker Punch plus
Oh,
Chop,
which is huge for Arch. Which is huge.
Really good for Arch, right? Exactly. And so I knew Terra Grass Arch was really, really good in this matchup. Unless they brought Hearthflame, in which case it's like okay, but then regular Arch is really good, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I was just able to leverage the fact that Peli Arch was a good lead, and then I was able to switch into Amoonguss turn 1 into the Peli slot and just click Snarl and Spore and put stuff to sleep and keep Arch alive and slowly boost up with Electro Shot and slowly take out the partners while Raging Bolt was sleeping or while it was trying to set up, right? And then just kind of win the game in the end with Amoonguss and Archaludon, or Amoonguss and Pelipper, right? Or really Amoonguss plus anybody, right? Walls out the Calm Mind Raging Bolt as long as you Terra Fairy the Amoonguss. And so I think my opponent ended up bringing Chen Pao as the last, but again, without the Sacred Sword, Arch just ran over it. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's all, I mean, even for me, like when I look at that, it's like, oh, Arch, Amoonguss, Instant Peli kind of just cooks that shit. Like, is really good into that.
Yeah. The reason I don't bring a Instant into these matchups is because the Urshifu Rapid Strike can be a little bit tricky, especially because you have to terrestrialize the Arch to grass in front of Urshifu, right? Because you really don't want to take 90% from close combat or 95 or whatever the roll is. And if you do that, then you're weak to Chen Pao, and so Chen Pao can become an issue, right? If you terrestrialize, because you're also only at 40%. But we'll get into the set against Michael Kelsch in 2 rounds. We'll talk about it. But he doesn't have Bolt, and I did bring those for exactly.
Okay.
And so yeah, but anyway, in this set, it wasn't like a Instin's not unbringable, but I'm more comfortable with the other 4, if that makes sense, with the main 4.
No, definitely.
And so yeah, I brought those 4 both games. I think I led Amoonguss game 2 because I was pretty sure my opponent wasn't going to lead Rillaboom game 2, and I think this was Citrus Berry Instant, so I knew I was going to be able to either get a Snarl or a Spore off turn 1.
Yeah.
And so that it was just those 4, especially honestly, just the core 3 of Pelipper, Amoonguss, Archaludon is really good in balance.
Yeah. So now you have a winning in versus Mayuki Okuno. So let's look him up here. Okuno.
I think he finished 5. I mean, he did finish 5-3, right? So we were both 5-2 at the time.
Yeah. So this is the James Evans regional winning team. It looks like are very similar to it, from Vancouver of last year. But tell me, bro, you played the gouging fire. How'd you do this? You do? Tell me about it, bro.
So gouging fire teams are just like really, really good for Archaludon because gouging fire can't really do anything into the team at all. Like it can boost the partners, which was kind of its only role here. But itself, gouging fire is not very good, right?
It only to support the partners.
Exactly. It's only giving Archaludon boosts if it attacks, and even especially this one's Terra Fairy, like it's bad into Amoonguss.
Yep. On Spore just goes crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So the 2 problem Pokemon here are Rillaboom and Landorus. So Rillaboom is bad because it's Miracle Seed, which means Grassy Glide can probably KO my Urshifu. I'm not exactly sure on the calc on that, but I'm pretty sure it can kill my Urshifu if I don't terrestrialize.
Yeah.
And then the Landorus is just pretty bad in general because it's Terra Water, right? So I've got to call whether or not they Terra Water in front of my Urshifu. If they get the call right, they can KO me. If I have a little bit of chip, right? Like if I've taken a fake out chip or if I've taken like an
you're both with a raw EP, but
right.
Yeah, but with some chip like a fake out, for sure.
Exactly. So exactly. I should take like 85% to like 96 or like 83 to 96 or something from Earth Power normally. But yeah, with any kind of chip, I'm kind of in trouble. So I had to be a little bit careful around the Landorus. But he also has the Calm Mind Bolt, right? So the Snarl Archaludon looks pretty good outside of Landorus, right?
And Gambit. You have followed me. I mean, Rage Powder.
So. Right. There's no. So the thing with the Gambit is it's not Black Glasses or Terra Dark. It is Swords Dance, but Arch is pretty good into it, especially because it's Terra Dragon, right? I can body press it, or I can, if it Terras, I can Dragon Pulse it, right? Yeah. So I think he brought Gambit game 1, but it wasn't really an issue. The issue was the other 3. It was Rillaboom, Bolt, and Landorus. Because I got to try to keep the Bolt in check with Snarl while also not getting KO'd by the Landorus with Sludge Bomb, right? Or Earth Power if I don't. I have
an interesting question for you.
Yeah.
Your Arch is Terra Grass.
Yes.
Do you feel like Bug would be a better fix, or did you like Grass and you felt grass? Because I'm looking at something like this, and I feel like Bug would have been really nice for these guys. But I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the Terra.
Yeah, so I actually ran Bug for a long time. I think Bug is really, really good. I think it's really personal preference. I felt like I could beat a lot of these teams with Terra Grass. And I think with Terra Bug, it's actually not Amoonguss that's the issue with Terra Bug. Because I think I have enough Amoonguss counterplay between Incineroar, my own Amoonguss, the Terra Grass Ursh. Yeah. But it's actually opposing Urshifu. opposing Urshifu Rapid Strike, that is an issue because Terra, just Surging Strikes in Rain, especially from the Mystic Water, is doing so much to Terra Bug Arch. It does like 80% Surging Strikes in Rain from Mystic Water. So I was like, I would rather resist that and have a few other slightly worse matchups like the Landorus, the Chen Pao is slightly worse, right? Because Terra Bug is better in the Chen Pao.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. I was just curious in your thought because I was like, in this spot, Bug also is really good. And I also know that guys, I don't have it pulled up anymore, but the two guys who went deep in Birmingham both ran Bug. So I was curious on like your take on that. But yeah.
Bug is definitely strong. Ogerpon Wellspring is also another reason I ran Grass. Like just for the same reason, right? Like the critical hit Ivy Cudgels just do so much damage in Rain. And a lot of time I went Rain up when I'm bringing Arch, right? Just being able to resist both the Ogerpon attacks was really good too. But it also lets me make kind of crazy psycho plays like I made in this set, where my opponent was like, oh, he's not just gonna let me Earth Power his Arch. So he clicked Sludge Bomb and I didn't Terra and he did no damage and I got a Snarl off and I basically won the game. Nice. Because I'm EV to live Earth Power, right? So I can get the Snarl off. I'm gonna Pollen Puff myself anyway.
Yeah.
Right. I get the Snarl off. I Pollen Puff. I'm back up to like 70%.
To you, it's a safe play, but to him, he's like, oh, he has to do it.
Right, exactly, because he doesn't think there's any shot my Arch lives Earth Power, so he's like he has to Terra Grass. Whereas I know I live Earth Power, and I was pretty sure that because he's Terra Water, he's probably got some bulk, and so he's probably not max special attack. He could have been, but I wasn't sure. But again, I live max special attack anyway, and I Pollen Puffed and Snarled, and he clicked Sludge Bomb, and I basically won the game off of that. And then game 2, Tailwind Pelipper was like this might have been the only time I maybe clicked Tailwind like twice the whole tournament, but this is where it really came in clutch because my opponent led Wellspring and Landorus. And I led Arch and Pelly. And this time I was like, okay, I should definitely Terra Grass here because I resist all the moves from the Wellspring if I Terra, and like he doesn't have Terra Poison, so the Sludge Bomb is going to do like a max of 60, right? Yeah. So I lived the double up, but my opponent went for, I believe, Protect with they went for Terra Water Landers because they were afraid of the Weather Ball from Pelly, and they double attacked my Arch like I expected. And I got Tailwind up, and I brought the Ogerpon down to like 60% with Electro Shot, or like I Terra Grassed Arch and clicked Electro Shot into the Ogerpon, and I Tailwinded with Pelly. Exactly. Yep. So then I was still in like kind of a tricky spot because my Pelipper underspeeds my Arch, right? And the Landorus is now Terra Water. So I want to Electro Shot the Landorus, but if they follow me, they redirect the Electro Shot, and the Landorus takes like the Hurricane, which is like fine. It's okay, but it's not ideal, right? I'd rather take both KOs with Hurricane and Electro Shot.
Of course, yeah.
So I went for that targeting anyway. I clicked the Electro Shot into the Landorus and the Hurricane into the Wellspring, and I figured, well, if my opponent makes the quote-unquote correct play with like follow me and Earth Power, like we trade Wellspring for Arch, but I also had Urshifu in the back, and I was like, I don't think that's that bad for me because I got a lot of chip on Landorus. I can lots of things are in close combat range. I still have a Amoonguss in the back as well if they bring in Rillaboom, so I didn't feel that bad about it. Yeah. And my opponent didn't protect and didn't click follow me, and I took the Electro Shot KO with Arch, and then I took the Hurricane KO onto Wellspring. And I basically,
you heard day 2 calling your name, my boy.
Yeah, I was at that point. I was pretty much like, okay, if I mess this up at this point, I don't deserve to make day 2, right?
yeah.
So I was so I was pretty proud of myself in that moment too, because there have been times I made a win in Louisville the first round of Brigade, and I played Andrew Zhang, who ended up winning that tournament. Pretty funnily enough. I was playing Paris Trap, actually, like Polytoad Gothtail Paris Trap, and I really wish I'd made it further in that tournament, because I think anyway, that's a different story. But I kind of psyched myself out in that set a little bit, and so I was pretty proud of myself in this set to kind of remain centered, like in the win and
get the job done, bro.
Exactly. Make sure I made like the quote unquote correct plays, right? The optimal plays. Even when there was a potential for a hard read, I made the safe plays, and the safe plays ended up winning me the game.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and next we have none other than GOAT fucking Kelsch, bro. We have day 2 Michael Kelsch. So
yeah. I went to
this team. Yeah.
So I went to sleep. I woke up. I looked at some of the bad matchups, right? Michael rocks up and he doesn't have a team sheet, so we've got to wait like 35 minutes to actually start our set. Everybody around us is like finishing up as we're starting our set, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because he like left his team sheet in his pants from the day before, which is
crazy.
So funny. He's an awesome guy. We talked a little bit after the set as well, but I was like freaking out, right? Because it's my first day 2 in like over a year, and I get paired into like maybe the best VGC player
in the world.
Yeah, in the world right now, right?
You fucking
but I see the team and I'm like, Arch looks like it runs this team over to me. He told me after the set that he thought he had a pretty good matchup advantage, but I don't think that's really the case. I think Arch beats like all these guys. Like it beats Insane, it beats Rilla. It does like it's probably neutral into Urshifu, right? Especially with Terra Grass, it's like okay. It beats Ogerpon, and it's like okay into Chien-Pao. So I was like, Urshifu and Chien-Pao definitely coming. Fluttermane's probably coming just to check my own Urshifu, right? And then he's bringing one of the fake out bros. Probably he's probably not bringing Ogerpon. But I was like, Arch seems really good. And so I lent into the mode that you talked about earlier, which is Peli Arch up front and Amoonguss instant in the back. Yeah. And this is the set where Pull and Puff won me the game because I was able to slowly, like I was able to take the close combat with Urshifu early on and then get into a position where I was able to click Parting Shot with Instant and side Pull and Puff in the same turn. So I Parting Shot the partner, Pull and Puff into my Instant, but the Instant's not the Instant anymore. It's now Arch. So I get the drop. I switch into Arch with the Parting Shot and I Pull and Puff my Arch as it comes in. And that was basically able to win me the game.
That's hype. That's hype.
Yeah, so Pull and Puff was really, really good in this set. I think it was a 3-game set. I think he really outplayed me game 1. He leveraged his Urshifu really, really well. Like he traded it well. Then he traded into an end game where he was able to use Terra Water Rillaboom to beat my Incineroar, which I realized a little too late, if that makes sense, that was his game plan.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to conserve my health on my Amoonguss well enough. But then games 2 and 3, yeah, like I said, that bulky core of Instant Amoonguss, Peli Arch was just really, really hard for him to break through.
Is that what you led game 1 as well, and you didn't play well enough, or how did game 1 go? You got something different?
Yeah, so game 1 I led. That's round 8. Yeah, game 1 I led Arch Peli. I brought all 3 games. I brought Arch Peli up front and Instant Amoonguss in the back. Yeah. I think the issue was I let my Incineroar take too much chip from his Rillaboom in like the mid game. Okay. Like I was constantly behind in terms of cycling my Instant into his like Chien-Pao, right? Like I couldn't let my Arch take an Icicle Crash from Chien-Pao, and so I would like fake out the Chien-Pao as he switched in Rillaboom into that slot, and so it was able to threaten me with like effective high horsepowers without me getting an Intimidate down. And so I was more in tune with that in games 2 and 3. I was like, okay, he can't let his Chien-Pao lose its sash here, so I'm going to switch it. I'm going to preemptively like Parting Shot the Flutter, or I'm going to preemptively switch out to my own Amoonguss, right? So I was able to kind of keep tabs more on the macro in games 2 and 3.
But dude, that one must have felt after losing the first game and then coming back and beating Kelsch. Like, how did that feel for players watching at home? Like that must have is that probably your best win, I'm guessing, like you've ever had.
Yeah, so I went 5-3 at NAIC this past year, and I played Eric Rios in round 2 and lost, and then I played Terran Birdie in round 3 and won. So
that's pretty hype too.
It was pretty hype. So I knew I could do it, but obviously like Michael's Michael, right? Like he's nuts. And so to start off the day with beating Michael, I was like, okay, if I can beat Michael, I can probably beat anybody here, right? Yeah. And so that was a big confidence boost because going in, I was like, if I lose to Michael, there's no shame because he's one of the best players in the world. But if I beat him, then like I know that I'm good enough and I know my team is good enough to beat anybody here.
It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity, bro. It's like the worst case, I get beat by one of the best players in the world. Best case, I can beat fucking him and anybody here. And then who knows what will happen. And we know what happens next because you beat the guy who knocked me out of day 1. Luke Kroll is my winning in, actually.
Okay.
So bad, RNG. Pain watching this, bro, but it's okay. But tell me about this guy.
So he has this weird, really, really weird team, right? Like Clear Amulet, Iron Boulder, not
PTSD,
common.
Bro. I don't want to.
Life Orb Entei without Chien-Pao, not common, right? I was scared of those guys the most, and he didn't bring either of those guys. He brought the standard 4. He brought the Bolt, Ogerpon, Fluttermane, Urshifu Dark, which I think is probably looking back is probably the best 4 into my guys because Entei's pretty bad into rain, and Boulder is Clear Amulet, right? Like it can Sword Stance, but even then, it's not doing any damage to Archaludon, right? I resist Mighty Cleave and Psycho Cut.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like a net loss. He lets me set up Electro Shots for free. Like
he's not bringing against the Arch, yeah.
Right, and I can always terrestrialize Amoonguss to live a Psycho Cut, even at +2, and so yeah. Looking back, I was more scared of the Boulder than maybe I should have been, but yeah, this round was, I don't want to say like straightforward because Urshifu Dark, like I said, is a pretty difficult matchup, but I knew the guys I wanted to bring. I know Instant's pretty bad here, especially because of the
Entei Ursh.
Yeah, especially because the Entei, the Ursh, and honestly the Boulder, right? If he does bring the Boulder, then Cleave kind of blows him up. Yeah. The only thing it's really good into is Ogerpon or like to knock off Bolt's Assault Fest. But I was like, I could bring the Porygon too, right? In which case the Instant looks pretty good. But he does have the taunt on the Fluttermane, right?
Yeah.
And, so and he did lead it all 3 games, or I guess both games. We only played 2. But so that was another thing I was slightly worried about was the taunt on the Flutter, and he did bring it. So I think me not bringing P2 is the right call. But I brought just the core rain of Arch, Peli, Amoonguss, and Urshifu. And yeah, I think I was just able to really utilize Terra Fairy Amoonguss to redirect the Urshifu and use my my own Urshifu to kind of get damage in the right places and use my Arch to boost up when I needed to. I don't really have many notes on this set.
Outside of or just straightforward, and
I think I was kind of playing in my comfort zone, if that makes sense. This matchup into the Flutter Urshifu Dark style teams is pretty in my comfort zone with the rain, and so I was able to use Snarl to like chip down the Flutter and the Bolt and lower their damage output, and use Electroshock to take out the Ogerpon and the Urshifu when I needed to, and just be careful of the Ogerpon in rain hitting my Terra Fairy Amoonguss. But other than that, the matchup is not easy, but it's like I said, I was fairly
you were very prepared for it. You had plans.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure, bro. So, dude, now again, you're cooking. Now you have 2 more rounds left, and you're playing against Mr. Aaron Grubbs. Name also sounds familiar. I might have played Aaron at some point, I think. Let's see his team. We got Mr. Grubbs. Okay, he was also top 32. Wow. Okay, so I've seen this team has been everywhere before the tournament. So tell me about this one.
Yeah, so this one I brought Incin again, and honestly, after day 1, I think I brought Incin to like 4 games, maybe, and like 2 of those were the ones that I lost to Dozo, and I was like, wow, Incin is like a fraud on this team. Like I was also contemplating a couple of other Pokemon in that slot. I was considering Hearthflame in that slot earlier, like in my team building process.
Yeah,
I was like, I shouldn't have brought Incin. And then in day 2, I was like, Incin's going crazy. Like this is the greatest mon ever. And in this matchup, it's really, really good, right? It can ignore Amoonguss and smack the Golden Go, which is exactly what I did kind of both games. I was able to smack the Golden Go with knockoff. I really so I led Incin Ursh in game 1 into their Amoonguss and Golden Go. And I really wanted to click Fake Out and Close Combat into the Golden Go turn 1, predicting the Terra Dragon, or like knock off Close Combat into the Golden Go. But I was like, no, I shouldn't do that. Like that's a really risky play if they don't Terra and they just click like Spore or Sludge Bomb into the Urshifu, or if they just Rage Powder and redirect my attack, right? Because I wasn't planning on terrestrializing and doing that. I was like, if they just click Rage Powder, it's really bad. So I'm just going to U-turn, right? U-turn's the safe play. I can bring in my Arch and I can snarl down the Golden Go from there. He Terra to Dragon, so I could have just gone for a knockoff Close Combat. But it was okay, right? Like U-turn was the safe play, and I ended up being able to kind of snarl down the Golden Go. I think I died to +2 Shadow Ball, which I was a little bit shocked by because he's got Citrus Berry. And so I was...
You must have taken a lot of chip because that never KOs. That never KOs.
I was at like 80%, I want to say. So I was pretty shocked that I died.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the Arch stuff because like that's what.
Oh no, sorry. This is Pelipper. This is Pelipper at that point.
Oh, that's always gonna KO then.
Yeah. I think I was full. Anyway, but
I think it was an Arch, but Arch never dies to that, bro.
No, Arch takes like 45% from that.
He's a beast.
Yeah, it's so good. But but I was able to like kind of slowly wear down the Golden Go, and I think my opponent brought Tornadus and Landorus in the back, and I was kind of able to like kind of win in this end game where I had Terra Grass Arch. My opponent kind of had to lock into Rock Slide because if they locked into like Earthquake or Stomping Tantrum in front of my Terra Grass Arch, they pretty much lost. And so they hard read me and they locked into Rock Slide, and I was like, okay, I win this game as long as I don't get flinched like 17 times. And I got flinched like 12 times. So I got flinched a lot, but it wasn't enough to like win the game, if that makes sense. I was able to like, I think I broke through on like my last the last available turn.
That's too stressful.
Yeah, it was way too stressful. Like I was able to like KO the Amoonguss with Dragon Pulse, like, and then because of that, my Urshifu was allowed to come in on the next turn and click Surging Strikes. But if I hadn't KO'd with Dragon Pulse, then they could have just redirected, right? Exactly, and I would have died to Rock Slide because I had taken Helmet Chip twice from before or something like that. But anyway, closer end game than it should have been. Game 2, they brought Torn and Ursh, which I think Life Orb Urshifu Rapid Strike is actually like really scary for my team, especially with like a defensive Terra. Because again, Surging Strikes in range just does so much damage. Even like Pelipper and Archaludon, it does like
CC now because
and CC exactly. CC KOs the Arch now, so I've got to be really careful. But I led Ursh and Arch in this game, and I was able to go for like the U-turn Electroshot play, switching in Pelipper turn 1 and KOing their Tornadus. And then I was able to leverage because I KO'd their Tornadus, I think they clicked Rain Dance to boost their Surging Strikes. They didn't get a Tailwind off. And so what I was able to do was leverage my own Pelipper's Tailwind while letting my Arch go down, and then use Pelipper and Ursh under Tailwind to KO my opponent's Golden Go and Ursh through Rapid Strike, which is terrible.
It's like your own version of Torn Ursh, but we had the duck.
Exactly. And again, the Life Orb Pelipper here was really, really good because I was pretty confident that even through the Terra Poison, that Hurricane would KO my opponent's.
You're applying you so much pressure, more pressure,
Yeah, exactly. And so I was able to do that. I was able to click Hurricane into the Rapid Strike, knowing that it would KO even if they Terra Poison. And I think they ended up switching in Amoonguss into the Hurricane. And it just dropped. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
So, so the Life Orb really came in clutch in this set. Arch with Snarl was very, very good into the Golden Go as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Dude, now you have a win in for cut against Mr. Tommy Rohlfing. Rohlfing. Let's find this guy. Let's see. Tommy. But I guess in the last matchup, any advice about playing that matchup that you would give before we kind of jump into this one? Oh, I played this guy too. He beat me too. Dude, my 2 losses, you played and beat them.
That's crazy.
My Revenger, Noah.
So
the with 5 Pokemon. That's crazy.
Yeah, which is I'll get into that as well because that threw me for a loop. But you want to talk about the Aaron Grubbs matchup, the Bando Lando team?
Yeah, someone's playing against the Aaron Grubbs team. Just I want to make sure everyone's getting that advice from you about how they should play the matchups. What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, so this one, again, most of the time the comfort picks with the rain mode are just Ursh, Pelipper, Archaludon, and Amoonguss in some order.
Yeah.
But because they have both their own Amoonguss, Golden Go, Chien-Pao, and Tornadus, Amoonguss is like really bad. And so I just switched Amoonguss for Incineroar because on the flip side, Incineroar looks really good, right? It intimidates Chien-Pao, it intimidates Landorus.
Incin looks so good into that team.
It intimidates Golden Go, and it's good into Amoonguss, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring Incineroar. So those are the 4 I would recommend bringing every time because I don't think P2 is great into Amoonguss plus Torn. It's not bad because you can Ice Beam stuff, but it's also just really bad into Golden Go, and it's like okay into Chien-Pao, and it's bad into Life Orb Urshifu. It's like Life Orb Urshifu. So I would recommend bringing those 4 in some order and just kind of feel it out. Like I said, I led Incin Ursh game 1 just to get that fake out Surging Strikes pressure that everybody likes to get.
Yeah.
And in game 2, I led the Ursh Arch to get the U-turn into the Setting Rain Electro Shot play. So it just kind of depends on
how they want to play it.
Yeah, how you want to play it. But I think those 4 are definitely the brings.
Sick, dude. That's awesome, bro. So now, winning in for cut, Mr. Tommy Rohlfing, who beat me with 5 Pokemon, bro.
Yeah, so this matchup was like super stressful. This core 6, I would say, is like it's an even matchup for my team. However, almost all my game plans revolve around the idea that the opponent's going to lead Landorus or just bring Landorus in general, right? Because Landorus plus speed control is like pretty good into my team.
Yeah.
It does like 90% to Ursh with a little chip at KOs. It does 90% to Arch, but they don't necessarily know that. So they're gonna think it KOs. If they're Terra Poison, which this one's not, but if they are Terra Poison, they can Oko Pelipper, right, with Sludge Bomb. Maybe even without, but I'm pretty sure they need Terra Poison to KO.
Terra Poison, yeah.
So, but again, Moonblast is really good into Pelipper as well. Thunder Wave is really good into Urshifu. Icy Wind is good if I don't bring Pelipper for Wide Guard. So a lot of my game plans revolve around getting rid of the Landorus and then winning with Archaludon in the back, right? Because Archaludon is really good into Bolt, it's really good into Flutter, it's really good into Ogerpon, it's really good into Arc, and it's decent into Urshifu Single Strike, especially with Terra Fairy Amoonguss support, right? So my game plans are all around, can I get rid of the Landorus with Pelipper and Urshifu, and then can I win the game with Archaludon and Amoonguss? But like you said, Tommy doesn't have Landorus. He had his Landorus like removed from his team sheet. So I was still thinking about my Landorus game plans, but he doesn't. But the opponent didn't have Landorus, and so my lead game 1 was Peli Ursh normally, but my opponent didn't have Landorus. So I was like, I'm going to lead Peli Arch because normally my game plan is get rid of the Landorus and then win with Arch. So I guess Arch wins, right?
Yeah.
But my opponent did a really good job of like preserving his Urshifu Dark, and he terrestrialized it to Dark, and with Wicked Blow, it critting through the defense boost. It just does so much damage. And my opponent did a really good job of like taunting my Amoonguss when it was threatening to like Rage Powder and switching out the Ursh in the same turn so that it wouldn't lose its Focus Sash. But that game, while I was kind of getting stomped game 1 by this Terra Dark Urshifu, I was like, okay, why is Landorus like an issue for this team? This one doesn't have Substitute, but a lot of times they have Substitute on this team.
Yeah.
I was like, why is Landorus, especially with Terra Steel, why is that a problem for my team? And I was like, well, it does really well into Amoonguss with Substitute. This one didn't have it, but just in general, that's why I don't like bringing Amoonguss in the lead in this matchup. And the taunt Fluttermane is really good into P2. And also, a lot of times I like to Terra Poison the P2 to get the physical Terra Blast to hit the Fluttermane, but then I become weak to Landorus Earth Power, right? But I was like, okay, there's no Landorus Earth Power anymore, so I can Terra the P2 for free. So what I ended up doing was bringing the hard Trick Room, like the balancing mode. Nice. So I would bring like Incin P2 or Amoonguss P2 up front, and then bring the other one plus Urshifu in the back. And what I was able to do was just like I was able to utilize the fact that Incineroar was slower than P2 to like knock off the Bull's Assault Vest. I was able to like Flare Blitz the Fluttermane plus Terra Poison, Terra Blast it for the KO.
Nice.
So yeah, I was just able to generally wear down my opponent in games 2 and 3 with those modes.
Yeah, they really can't break down Poison P2 unless they have Arcanine with like a head smash, but you have a whole instinct to slow it down.
Yep. And even with that, like again, the Arcanine is so bad into the rain mode, right? It's so bad into Arch.
Yeah.
They're not going to bring it. Yeah, exactly. And so they didn't bring it either game. They brought the other 4. They brought Bolt, Flutter, Ogerpon, and Urshifu in games 2 and 3. And my opponent, I think in game 3, they made some smart plays. They would just start spamming Thunderwave into everything, realizing that like their win condition was just like all my Pokemon getting paralyzed, and then Ogerpon getting like 40 million critical hits. And my opponent, he was like, after the set, he was like, my win con was getting 5,000 things to go my way, and 3,000 things went my way. So it was another one of those sets where like I played really, really well in an endgame where I was like 98% guaranteed to win, and it almost came up where the 2% came up.
Yeah. So. I think it tells you, like, for everyone watching at home, I think like a big part of this is you never know in these tournaments how things are going to come. Like this team, he's had so much practice into, like Noah's practiced this team a lot, but they had no Landorus, and not having a Pokemon doesn't necessarily make the match easier. Like, fun fact, this guy beat my ass in Swiss in 3 games. And what the lesson in this is that if you step back to analyze what's going on and how you can win the game, and with the tools you have, you can do it in ways that you never thought you would originally on how to deal with. Like, even when you play the Dondozo team, even though you lost that set, like you're used to playing Dondozo a certain way, and then you kind of repivoted your strategy and still took the game and almost won the whole set with a different idea. So I think this is really cool that that's how you approached it from losing. Like you lost game 1 here, you lost game 1 to Kelsch, like, and you still were able to adjust, find the ways home, and bring it home. I think that's a key lesson is like, even if you lose or whatever, like really think about what's happening. And if you can do that with what you have, you'll do well. So, dude, really good job, man, winning that match.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I do want to say one more thing about like winning in general.
Yeah, tell me, bro.
I think, especially for day 2, I told like my wife and my friends going in that like I was pretty happy, right? Like my goal at most of the tournaments is like if I make day 2, I'm pretty happy with my performance regardless of how I do in day 2. And so I felt a lot less pressure in all my matches in day 2, which is why I think I played as well.
Playing loose.
Exactly. The only time that changed was this game, because I was like, I do not want to lose my win in to a guy with 5 Pokemon. Like that would feel really, really bad. And so I felt a horrendous amount of pressure in this set, because I was like, if I lose my win in for my first cut ever to a guy with 5 Pokemon, I'm going to feel horrendous.
Yeah. Hey, dude, when he beat me, I was like,
it feels really like, even though Tommy like played really well, he's a good player.
He made it to a win in.
Yeah.
With 5 Pokemon, bro. That's insane work.
I asked him, I was like, so do you like lose your Landorus at like the start of the day? Was it when they did like team checks yesterday, like before day 2? And he's like, no, I lost at round 2. And I was like, round 2? And he played phenomenally the whole weekend, but it's a different kind of psychological pressure playing somebody who's lost a Pokemon.
Low key is a tech, bro.
Yeah. But
now, last but not least, we have none other than 3-time regional winner, Justin Tang. And unfortunately, I see this guy right here. I see the dragon. Talk to me.
Yeah. So game 1, oh, actually both games, he led Rillaboom Drago, and my kind of game plan was this team looks really bad if I set up Trick Room, so I'm just going to lead P2 and try to set up Trick Room immediately.
Yeah.
Game 1, I predicted him just like double the P2 with like Fake Out and Draco, or Fake Out and Dragon Energy, and I switched an Incin, and he clicked Draco as I clicked Wide Guard. But I Terra Steeled and Wide Guarded. I think I was still kind of thinking about the Iron Crown variants, where Terra Steel is really good, but here, because he's got Hearthflame and Rillaboom with high horsepower, Terra Steel's kind of bad. And like if my Peli goes down to Draco, like it's okay because it's -2 Draco or Dragon Energy now, right? Feed Draco. So I think I should have just clicked Raw Wide Guard, but I went for Terra Steel Wide Guard, and he doubled the P2 slot as I switched to Incin. And then on the next turn, I tried to, but the Incin lived, and so I tried to go for Fake Out and or I think I went for Parting Shot and Hurricane maybe into the Rillaboom.
Yeah.
But he doubled me again with like Earth Power and High Horsepower into the Peli slot, and I died. And I was able to get up Trick Room, but I lost too many resources.
Yeah.
Right. And he was able to like stall me out with like the Spiky Shield from Ogerpon and Drago, and then like he made a good call switching in Goldengo for his Rillaboom on like an Ice Beam, or it was either Ice Beam or Terra Poison Blast. It didn't, one does 0 damage, one does like 10. So and yeah, so that kind of won him game 1. Again, this Drago matchup is really bad, and I knew that going in. Like kind of the whole tournament, Justin and I had the same record in day 2. I think, pretty much the whole tournament, maybe since round 5.
And you never pulled him.
And I never pulled him until now. And I knew what he was running because he was on stream against Marcus Dion.
Yeah, you knew at some point, like you're
exactly. I was like, this is the team I don't want to play. Like this is the only team in the whole tournament that I don't want to play. Yeah. And I dodged him the whole day 2 Swiss, and then I pulled him in top cut. And I was like, yeah, that's about right. But and then game 2, I led I led Peli and Ursh, and I was like, okay, he can either Fake Out the Pelipper and stop Wide Guard, right? Which I don't know if many people know this, but I'm pretty sure Wide Guard and Fake Out are the same priority. And so the faster Pokemon moves first, right? So he could Fake Out my Pelipper before I Wide Guarded. Go for Dragon Energy. But that would leave my Urshifu free to click Close Combat or Surging Strikes into his Drago. So I went for Surging Strikes into Drago, and I actually Hurricaned the Drago as well.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think he's either going to stop the Wide Guard, or he's going to
nuke,
or he's going to just click Fake Out Draco, right? Yeah. Like he's either going to stop the Wide Guard and go for Dragon Energy, or he's just going to hit the other slot and go for Draco Meteor. And so I figured getting the damage down on the Draco would be nice. He faked out the Ursh and went for Dragon Energy, and I lost both guys turn 1, which felt really, really bad.
Yeah.
And then I brought in not Incin. I brought in P2 and Arch in the back, and he went for Dragon Energy again, but I lived on like 40% with both. Both those guys are like
at that point it's
bulky. And I went for Terra Poison with P2, and he wood hammered me. And I went for Trick Room. So like I actually kind of had a chance here because
you got Trick Room up. He has to slow you down.
Exactly. I've got I got the special attack boost on P2 as well. So I was like, okay, this is like doable. I just got to like get some hard reads right.
Every turn right, yeah.
And then then from there, I think I went for a Recover and Electroshot into his Rillaboom. Either predicting it to switch out because I went for Terra Poison Blast into it in game 1 and it did like 80%. So I knew he's pretty fast. So I knew that he would probably switch it out because he didn't want to take the double. He switched Drago out into Ogerpon, I believe, and went for Terra Fire. So my Electroshot was actually going to hit the Terra Fire Rillaboom and do some good chip. And I went for Recover with P2, and we disconnected. And at that point I was like pretty frustrated. Like I think I had a chance of winning, but also the matchup was like so bad, and I was so tired of just like getting beat down by this stupid Regidrago that I just I was like,
so they gave you the loss in the disconnect?
No, I basically gave it to him because I was like, again, we go through this whole process again. Like the matchup is just horrendously bad for me. Like there's maybe there's a realm where I take 1 win. Like for example, I might have won this game. I seriously doubt there's a world where I take 2 in a row. And so I was like he was also 4 against 2 anyway. He was in a winning position and was up a game. I was like, I don't think there's a shot that I could pull it back from here. But
but dude, like amazing. Like you still had a shitty way to end the run, but amazing run, though. Like look at dude, you went 9-3. You lost 10-3. You lost to 2 Dragos, like the one bad matchup. Like that happened to me at Portland last year. I had my winning until cut. All 3 of my losses were to Calyrex, Ice, and Kyogre, and they were all in the same team building group. And it was like sometimes you just pull the bad match at the bad time, right? But you still had an amazing run. It's a breakout performance. Number 11, bro, out of 800 plus players. Like, how do you feel now looking back? I'm just running through your run again, talking about your team. How do you feel right now, bro?
Honestly, I felt really, I don't know if like validated is the right word, but like I felt like I was I always felt like I had the ability to play up to this standard, like to make top cuts at tournaments, to make consistent day twos. And that's still a challenge, right? Like I've only made 2 day twos ever. So like that's going to be the goal moving forward, is to continue to make day twos. But I think the team building process that I went through this time, where I like really forced myself to use consistent Pokemon in consistent ways, really helped that, right? Like I knew exactly what I wanted all my Pokemon to do, and I was using Pokemon that weren't like unheard of, which I think is a challenge that I struggled with in prior formats, right? Like I was using Comfey almost all of Reg H with Archaludon. Not that Comfey was bad, obviously you made it work.
I love it. That was good.
It's a very good combination, but I was also using it with like Parastrap, and that combination didn't feel good. And again, nobody was using Parastrap. Nobody still was using Parastrap even after Wolf won Toronto with it, right? And so, yeah, I think forcing myself to stick to Pokemon like Incineroar, Amoonguss, and
using good stuff, and in a way you like to use it, right? Like
exactly. That was the lesson that I think I took away the most. Is like when I use good stuff in a way that I'm comfortable using it, I'm good enough to play and beat the best players.
Yeah, man. I think like the exciting part about it too is like being in your shoes a year ago. Like literally, Toronto was my breakout performance on my first real like top 8 deep run. And after that, like, dude, everything changed for me, bro. Like, I made my next top 8 2 tournaments later. I made like 6 day twos after that. Like, that was the moment where things changed. So for you, I think it's an exciting time, bro, to like, I don't know. I'm just excited for you in general. But other than that, man, like before we end this video, for one, thank you again. But 2, it's like, I want to give advice now to some of these players at home who have maybe made only 1 day 2 or made 0 so far. And they want to be in your shoes. They want to beat Michael Kelsch. They want to win 2 win-and-ins. They want to go somewhere and kick ass after spending so much time playing this game. What do you have to say to that player? Maybe like a couple of things there.
I would say a couple of things. First, keep playing the game if you really enjoy it. I think a lot of players will stop playing the game just because they aren't winning, right? Or they aren't getting the results they want.
Yeah.
Which is totally fair. Like if that's why you're playing the game, like, you know, play the game for the reasons you want to play the game. But if you are enjoying the game, don't quit because you're not getting the results. I think that's number 1. Number 2 is kind of the opposite of that, is like, don't burn yourself out with results, right? I think that's something that I struggled with a lot last year. Was I went to maybe 6 regionals last year, and I don't think I made day 2 at any of them, or like regional level events. I went to a special event down in Puerto Rico as well. Okay. And yeah, I think I was really burning myself out with the fact that I wasn't making day 2s at these regionals. And I was setting myself the expectation, especially because for the previous season, I'd come off the day 2 in Indianapolis.
Yes.
So I knew I could do it. So even if you know you can do it, don't bog yourself down with the results too much. Just enjoy playing and enjoy playing the teams that you enjoy playing.
Yeah.
And you're always going to do better with stuff you enjoy, as long as you know it's good, you know? And I think that's the third thing, is play what you enjoy, but also don't be afraid to use standard stuff, because standard stuff is standard for a reason. So use standard stuff, like you said, in the way that you enjoy using it.
I think you're 100% right. Like one thing I do in all my like coaching programs and even in my YouTube videos, I always say like, if you mix proof, like successful proof, with what in your history has been fun and strong, if you can find a bridge to that, you will do better than you've ever thought you could do. Like, for example, for you, right? It's like you've done well. Like, you liked Archaludon in the past, right? And you have that comfort there. But maybe it wasn't comfy, whatever. Maybe it was like, maybe let me use Archaludon in a more proven way that this guy Alberto used in the past to do well. You mix those 2 things together, what happened? You get freaking 11th place. Like, even for me, it was like this whole past run on my Toronto top 8 was with Arch Rain as well, right? So when Reg H came around, I was like, I don't know if I want to do Arch Rain anymore. So I found a new way to do Arch Rain with like Comfey and stuff. And I thought of it like, okay, well, keep it alive, Arch Rain. And what happened? I did very well. So I think like for everyone watching at home, like Noah's so right about that. Like mixing good teams with things that you like, you'll do well. Also, something I want to call you out on too is, you mentioned that you have friends to practice with. And I think like that's a big part of this game as well, where people always say that, you know, their only goal is at day 2. And I always tell them you have it wrong, because when you're so goal oriented and you're outcome driven, things become way harder and the fun goes away and the pressure goes up. And my advice to everyone is, if you can find a way to go to these events, and of course you can have what you want to happen, but if your sole enjoyment of the weekend that you travel to spend money from will come from getting a result that only 10% of players in the whole tournament will get, you're setting yourself up for like unhappiness and like unfulfillment. And when you go to these tournaments, whether you before you go, have friends, your local community, join online communities, find ways to where you can make this a fun experience for you, fun team, fun friends, fun experience. What will happen? 11th place. That's all I can say about that.
Can I add to that as well?
Oh, keep cooking, bro.
When you're going to those tournaments too, that's a great place to find friends as well. I mentioned my friend Austin earlier. He was the one that pushed me to add Snarl on Archaludon. He actually ran the team as well in Toronto. But he was the one that pushed me to add Snarl, and we met at Toronto last year playing in like the day 2 cup. We had both gone like 4-4 the day before, and we played in the round 1 of the cup, and since then we've been very good friends. So these places, like, you want to make friends before the tournaments so that you can like hang out with your friends at the tournaments, but also the tournaments themselves are really good places to make friends as well.
Well, 1000%. My first 4 regionals or so, I love this game so much, bro. I'll go by myself. Like I knew fucking nobody there. I would just go by myself, and I found friends by just like, of course you're a little nervous, but I'm like, everyone here loves the same thing. Like, no one's gonna be a dick to you. Like, and like that's not gonna happen. So I always go to people all the time and say, hey man, like my name's Darsh. Or when I played an opponent, like my second ever set, my friend Carter, I met him in a regional. And to this day, whenever we see each other, like I'm gonna dap him up. He just goes in with a hug. I'm like, oh, what's up, bro? And that's just the vibes that you create. So yeah, man, I think community is a big part of it, bro. So like
100%.
Yeah, man, I just want to say congrats to you. And guys, like for all of you watching, in the description, I had the link to the team, all that good stuff. But is there anything else you want to say, I guess, before we go and wrap this up? But again, Noah, you're the GOAT, and your name is one I'm gonna keep my eye out on, bro. Going forward, you going to Seattle, Houston, any of these upcoming tournaments?
I'm not. I've talked about going to Indianapolis because it's a pretty similar distance to me as Toronto. I know that's further down the line, but also to the burning yourself out thing too is I've tried to take like a step back from tournaments this year. Like this is only the second one I've been to. I went to Pittsburgh and then I went to this one. I think that's another thing, like pacing yourself, especially at like the regionals. Like if you go to so many regionals where you're constantly building a team, you're constantly stressing, it can be bad for like your, not only your own like mental health, but also like your passion, like your love and passion for like playing the game. And so that's another thing too, is like I really enjoyed myself this weekend. I think part of the reason for that was because I had taken a big break beforehand, right? Like there was I'd only been to one tournament. I didn't go to Milwaukee. I didn't go to Vegas, which, you know, I thought about going to both of those because I loved the format and I just like playing Pokemon and I love both those cities. But yeah, I personally needed a break.
You're preserving your love for the game. Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly. 100%.
And it worked out. It literally worked out.
Yep. So Indianapolis and NAIC maybe are like the only two that I would really, maybe Orlando. Those would be the 3 that I would consider going to the rest of the year. But yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, like if anyone go sees Noah, I mean, if you're comfortable, say what's up to Noah. Give him always dope. You made me new friends that way.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you guys too, right? So yeah, man, all the links to everything's in the description, all the tools that I used, all of this good stuff. And if you made it to the end of the video, comment real one if you're a real one. I want to know who made it to the end of the video. But guys, please like, subscribe. If you want to watch a video where I'm actually going over my step 1 of my team building process, watch this video. It'll be over my face right here. And if you want to see what kind of trainer you are and how you can look at other trainers and beat them, what I've used to beat the top players like Wolf, Blake, James Evans, click the video over Noah's face. All right, I'll see you guys later. Appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. Peace.